Hey guys, and welcome back to the Who Cares Anyway podcast. We are live. It is Friday night. I'm not wearing a jacket, which is unlike me, but whatever. It's fine. I'll probably sneak one on while I throw it over to someone else who's here on the panel tonight. But yes, guys, tonight we're doing just a short little bit of news. Gonna take a quick break, and then it's a lot of Avengers Endgame spoilers. Spoiler conversation. You've been warned. You've had a week and a half to see it. No excuses whatsoever. As I throw it over to our first member of the panel tonight, Kees, Cornelisse. Kees, what's up, man? How was your week, and are you excited for tonight?
I'm excited for tonight. I was not excited for the last couple of days. I didn't have the best past couple of days, really. Unfortunately, I had to say goodbye to my girlfriend this morning. She left to her country again, so that always sucks. Then I also hear that couple of things happened that we'll talk about in a little bit with the news. I won't spoil it right now, but that also dragged me down. And then I watched Attack of the Clones, which was also not fun.
Yeah, given your history with that movie, I can't quite say I blame you, but fair enough. But also on the panel tonight, we got Nico, the Suave one himself. Nico, how are you feeling right now, sir?
I suffered a nosebleed and I'm eating a fish sandwich. That's pretty much how the past 30 minutes has gone.
Okay, my evening is made.
Oh my god, I love you, Nico, and you know that we love you here. So, and to be fair, but actually, you went. Hold on, real fast. I just got to get this out of my chest. So when you were running off to go take care of your bloody nose, which by the way, you can take the, just show your face. It's fine. When you were heading off to go take care of your bloody nose, why were you holding your nose up? You're supposed to hold your nose down to let the blood just naturally flow out. You're supposed to do that.
Because I'm a massive bleeder.
Yeah, so am I.
Listen, dude, there have been mornings where I've woken up and my pillow looked like a murder scene happened. I did not want to make a mess all over the place. I'm letting that shit go down my throat until I get a thing plugged up my nose because I do not want to get in trouble for making a mess.
Fair enough.
We're off to a terrific start.
We're off to a wonderful start tonight. I couldn't ask for anyone else to do this with. But wait, so hold on. We do have somebody else here on the panel.
Hey.
After we had our last show, just like the first time I met this wonderful gentleman on Twitter, he had to say something, and I'm just like, you know what? Fuck it. I loved having you on the first time, and I really wanted to have you back. Ladies and gentlemen, from the Miscast Commentary Podcast, please welcome back Joe Findlay. Joe, dude, what's up?
Hello.
And how have you been since we last saw you here?
Well, so far my nose is clear, but I promise one thing. By the end of this night, my apartment is going to be coated in blood. But, no, I've been really good, man. Been looking forward to doing this. I like complaining at you every now and again on Twitter, seeing if I can draw myself back into another one of these.
It's really funny you bring that up because all I did this week, in terms of Twitter, outside of just bugging a couple people about random this and that, but I was saying a question to Collider Jedi Council, and this motherfucker, what is he? Seriously, okay. So I just asked a very simple question. That was, for the Rian Johnson / Benioff and Weiss trilogies that are going to be happening, could they be allowed to do a little bit of experimenting with their soundtracks, or should they keep it to a strictly traditional Star Wars soundtrack? And I said, like, oh, could they experiment with, like, maybe synthesizers or some new instruments or some new genres? Try to put that in Star Wars, because I think that'd be really cool. And this guy, he had the best response I could have ever asked for. It was beautiful. I wish I had a pull up, so just hold on. Sorry guys, professionalism. Just give me 2 seconds. 2 seconds.
Maintain professionalism.
God, it's me.
What professionalism? I'm Wilsoning this shit with a sandwich.
Yeah, but it makes you want. Did you on purpose put those bite marks in so your eyes perfectly dip into your sandwich? Because it's kind of genius.
That was totally by coincidence, but I'm now seeing the genius of it.
Oh my god, it's perfect.
Oh my god, yes,
it's so aesthetically pleasing, the shot.
It is. It's very aesthetically pleasing. No, but he was just I think you said something about like only kazoos only or something like that for the.
I wanted to do it only in GIF form. Or GIF if you're so inclined. But I was doing that, and then I started. I was gonna continue going, but I didn't know how to spell some of the ones I was getting into. I was starting to get into balalaikas and the travitsnits.
That's right. Oh my god! But yes, so yeah, we had that little finagle, and it was glorious. But to be fair, my question wasn't asked anyway on Jedi Council, so you know.
You suck.
Well, and again, I think it's because a certain someone over there is still mad at me. So you know what? That's fine. That's fine. It's fine.
I've been waiting for 1 year for someone from that show to answer which species they think would taste the best.
Well, porgs. Come on.
I mean, didn't you see The Last Jedi?
We never got to see anyone eat them.
Yeah.
Just cook them.
Technically, this is true. Technically, this is true. Damn it, porgs! Why are you so cute? Anyway, so yes, obviously you can tell we're messing up. We're messing up. We're screwing around, having fun.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, this hasn't exactly been the most fun week for everyone. There actually was a lot of tragedy that came in this week, and I want to sort of rip the Band-Aid off and get this out of the way first. So, guys, if you could, like, tweet out about this and, let us know your thoughts in the chat. Starting off with, unfortunately, last week we talked about how John Singleton went into a coma following a stroke on Sunday, and unfortunately on Thursday, they took him off life support. So, as of Thursday, he's no longer with us, and this sucks. Yeah. This just sucks. 50 fucking 1 years old.
I wouldn't even have guessed he was that young. To be honest, it was just like he made himself iconic so early that it just, they almost seems timeless.
And that was the beauty of his storytelling, was that it feels like it was just as timeless in some ways, And in your case, I'm glad you brought up Too Fast, Too Furious, because I actually looked back and watched just a couple clips of it over the last week. And you want to know something? I think I have been just a little bit too harsh on it, because it's still a great movie, in my opinion. No, but is it a fun one that's still very well shot? Of course.
I actually think it's one of the stronger Fast and Furious movies, and I do think it's because of his direction.
Yeah,
you can tell the difference at the very least. They were that movie was trying to do something where other ones were trying to do something completely different.
Absolutely, and and of course, like I said last week, Boys in the Hood still remains one of my favorite '90s films ever, and I think it's just going to remain in that position now, just because we'll never get another film from him again. So, John Singleton, from everybody here at Dedicated Art, thank you. Thank you for everything you've done for film. We appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Second thing I wanted to just get across is we had a little bit of a scare around the office. Now, for those of you guys don't quite know, Ryan, who also, he and I launched a brand new show this week called Downtune Dissection, where we talk about metal and rock and just, all kinds of music stuff going on. Well, there's a possibility that it could have been his only episode of that show if he had not been so lucky as to not be involved in the shooting at University of North Carolina, where he goes to school. He personally knew one of the victims who tragically passed away, and I've wanted to not think about this as much as I have been, but I just can't help it, because for fuck's sake, I've been running it in my head where for all I know, there could be a parallel universe where I have to sit on this podcast and tell you guys how we lost our friend this week. And I don't like thinking that. So, to both victims, to their families, I am so sorry.
You know what's sad?
Yeah.
That this happened, and I honestly just went about my day as if nothing was wrong. That's how much this happens now. That it's just become like, okay, it's so easy to overlook now, and it should have never gotten to this point.
No.
Like this should not be happening so frequently that we treat it like sneezing. It shouldn't feel this regular. It shouldn't feel like just something that happens every day. And the fact that it is, and the fact that it does, is
Terrifying.
We're a very fucked up country.
But I don't want to make a joke out of this, but watch the first episode of the new season of South Park, and it explains it perfectly. I think it does in the episode they really treat it like it's an everyday thing. Everyone is used to it now. It's like, why are you guys so used to it? It's weird. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a frustrating thing to kind of watch from afar. And it's the same kind of thing. It's like you hear it again and you just, all I can do is just be like, again. And then you kind of move along. And, my heart goes out to Ryan and everybody there at the school because even not being personally one of the victims, you're still one of the victims. You're there, you experience that, and it's a part of who you are now. And sometimes, one hits a little harder when it finally hits a little closer to home. But it's just crazy that this can happen so many times that each one isn't just its own national tragedy. Like, this should be its own, like, the country comes together and heals, but you don't have time because you could prepare for the next one.
Yeah, I mean, and really, I can't help but just ask, why does it have to be like that? It shouldn't. Because, well, I mean, shit, in my personal opinion, anytime someone is killed in such a brutal manner, it should be taken a lot more seriously. And for some effing reason, no one is doing that. But once again, to all the victims and their families, our condolences. And please, guys, let's finally have these discussions to where we can become better people as a result. And even if it's something as simple as I saw on Change.org there's a petition going around right now to actually name the recreation center of UNC after the two victims. So please, let's have that be a start. Jonathan Peck, it's great to see you in the chat, man. Cobra Star Green, I don't believe I recognize you, but welcome to the show, and we hope you enjoy. As we move on to the one that really hurts. This one really hurts. And for some reason, I feel like what I want to ask everyone to do is, I just want to take like 5 seconds. I want you to give me your best Chewie impression.
I was so afraid this was going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't even roll my R's for Spanish. What makes
Thank you. Because, unfortunately, Peter Mayhew, the 7'3" former orderly at a Yorkshire hospital who was discovered by George Lucas to play the role of the mighty Chewbacca, has passed away at the age of 71 or 74.
74.
Yeah.
I was thinking.
Yep. I was like, hold on, man. I'm getting my Singleton and Mayhew ages backwards. That's fine. What can we say? Chewie was like a dog. But he was like the ultimate space dog. He was and granted, obviously, the character himself has not passed on, and I swear to God, if Episode 9 kills him off, I'm gonna be. But
if they did, they're not now.
oh yeah, no,
Yeah. Reshoots.
the reshoots. But Peter did so much to bring Chewie to life, and obviously, again, there was just too much to love about him. So actually, across the horn, I want to go across everyone here. I just want you all to give me your favorite Chewie moments. Nico, let's start with you.
Hello on the spot.
Yeah.
Well, here, does anyone else have a?
No, wait. I have one.
Okay.
It's just I'm thinking, can it count? Because technically, it's Jonas in the suit, not Peter.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Here's one. What wasn't it Chewie who went after the Ewoks trap and then gets them all caught in the net?
Yeah.
Yep.
Like you called Chewie the dog of the family, and yeah, that's the most dog thing you can do is not care at all what happens when there's food involved. You just see it and you're like, I want it, I'm going to have it. Oh, we're in a net now. My bad. But Chewie was lovable, and that was the joke in a lot of the newer Star Wars films, is that Han loves Chewie more than he loves Leia or his own son. There's a lot of truth to that. And
Well, Chewie was there first.
exactly. Like even Kira, who was there before Chewie, knows Han loves Chewie more than anything else in the world, and. Yeah, it sucks that, but if we were to compare the deaths of the original Star Wars actors, this one I can understand, because just being a wrestling fan, that big people don't live as long as average sized people, simply because having to carry all the weight of being a big person, literally and figuratively, and also the blood has to pump through your body a lot harder, and it has to travel farther distances just to keep the body functioning. So we saw that Peter Mayhew was having trouble walking as he got older. And yes, I do see the comment from Robert Adams about why I'm doing a Wilson impression. Simply put, I have a nosebleed. I'll be taking the plug out after our first commercial break. But for the most part, this death I understand, whereas Carrie Fisher was so sudden, and even Kenny Baker, his death was also kind of sudden.
Well, I was supposed to say, but I feel like for Kenny, it was sort of the same thing, but for the opposite reasons.
Precisely.
Yeah. And Joe,
Yeah.
do you got a moment?
Yeah, I got two. I got a Chewbacca moment and a Peter Mayhew moment. My Chewbacca moment is his laugh, the and then followed up by the laugh it up, fuzzball.
Yeah.
So I mean that's my favorite, because it's the one time you 100% know what he's saying or what he's doing without requiring a real somebody saying, hey, this is what you said, here's my response to it, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can get him emoting when he yells but it's that was the one time where he was just in the scene, and he you didn't need somebody to kind of guide him through. But my Peter Mayhew moment, I had actually met Peter Mayhew in June of 2017 at Niagara Falls Comic Con, and I got a picture with him, and I got his autograph. And I remember at the time, and I wrote down actually on I think I wrote it in my Twitter. I don't know. I posted it somewhere that you could see the smile on my face, and I'm like, this is the smile of the kid who fell in love with a world and is now standing next to somebody who helped build that world. And while I've met Billy D. Williams as well, and it was all that stuff, but there was a childlike joy in standing next to that man, and I genuinely did feel, I could see it in his eyes, that he was worse for wear. He was sore to be out there and all this stuff. You could see his massiveness. Like, I'm standing next to him, he's sitting and he's taller than me, and he's got these gigantic hands, and when I shook his hand, he just like enveloped me, and it just made you feel that much more like the kid who fell in love with the movies. And it was probably one of the more special like celebrity meetings I had. And yeah, I posted that on my Twitter, and it's yeah, I don't know. It's just that. And it was literally the first thing, like when I heard it, I literally just pulled into my parking spot at home, and that was the first thing I read. Oh. And I was like, oh my God. And the first thing I did was go to that photo in my thing. And I was just like, man, like, and then I had to record my podcast immediately after.
Oh, fuck.
So, yeah.
Kees?
Where do I even start? Like, without Chewie, Han would not be the character that we know and love today, because Chewie really is to him like an extension of his character, and it is because of Peter Mayhew what he did. So, like, I'm wearing the shirt that he's in, and I'm gonna also take a scene out of that movie where he goes back for 3PO after 3PO gets blasted. And at first, it's a very heartfelt moment because Chewie is very, very sad. And he's like, oh, I need to piece him together. Then when he's piecing him together, 3PO, oh, that's very good. Wait, what have you done? I'm backwards. And it's just the dynamic between the two. It's so great. It's really funny, and I think it's a little underrated scene. It never really gets talked about, but him piecing 3PO together is both very heartfelt and hilarious at the same time. So yeah, that's definitely one of my favorites. And yeah, just Peter Mayhew in any of the Star Wars movies, he's just so great. Funny moments, heartfelt moments, and as I said, an extension of Han's character.
Kees, I fucking hate you right now because you took mine.
What? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. And actually, well, here then I'll piggyback off that because, well, actually, you didn't say my exact moment, because my exact moment starts literally right after we see Han just getting the shit tortured out of him. Or no, sorry, it's right before that, because it's when Chewie's just locked in that room by himself, and he's freaking out because there's alarms going off, and he's just like, and then he calms down, and then he just slowly starts, because he has to have something to do. He has to have something to take his mind off of the madness that's going on around him. And so what does he do? He just picks up his tools and just tries to fix 3PO. And there's something so beautiful in that moment, and it's always stuck with me. And and Chewie still is one of my favorite characters. And for the record, you stupid Legends haters, he was not killed by a moon. A moon caused an earthquake, and he fell in the crevice. Okay, fuck off. Sorry.
Can I just piggyback?
Well, the issue with that entire story is that no one actually read the thing where it happened, and it's just, oh, he was killed by a moon. Oh, that's stupid. Shut up! You haven't even read the goddamn thing.
Exactly. Yes.
Nico.
Sorry, Nico. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, you mentioned how he has to be he has to be doing something, and he chooses to fix C-3PO, and it just reminded me of that one line in Attack of the Clones where Anakin is like, I'm always fixing things. He always has to be fixing things because that's what he's good at. At least that's what he thinks he's good at. He thinks he's good at. He can't fix his marriage to save his life. But Kees just took out his headphones, and I'm wondering if I pissed him off.
Nah, he's just putting on a sweatshirt. But you probably didn't piss him off because he watched Attack of the Clones today. So that didn't help. But no, you brought up a fair point, and well, yeah, and it's when we have just those little character moments like that just make me love a character that much more. So, Peter, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And obviously, and as you mentioned on the Star Wars documentary Empire of Dreams, that as is British tradition, when someone walks in through a door, you stand up, and you stood up to the opportunity of a lifetime. So thank you. And one last, really, this one hurts me. Not quite as much as Peter Mayhew, because sadly I only met this gentleman a couple of times, but long-time Schmodown reactor Jeff Malicki has sadly passed away yesterday after a months-long battle with cancer. I knew he was sick, and I knew he was fighting, but I wasn't aware that his time was really running out, and so I really wish I had messaged him at least once in the last couple of months, and I'm kicking myself in the ass for not doing that. But
same,
dude, thank you for just being a passionate fan of movies, of the Schmodown. And I mean, shit, Kees, you and I, we when we were doing, what was it, the Star Wars Free for All thing.
Star Wars Free for All, we met him,
and
he did actually pretty good.
He was good. He was really good. And again, he just had this infectious energy, and that's gonna be missed immensely. Kees, any thoughts?
No, I've he was a friend of me on Facebook. I've met him through not in real life, but through Skype or Hangouts. And the fact that I've met him and actually interacted with him, did trivia with him, it means something. And it really sucked that I saw that. It really caught me off guard, because I was like, I didn't know it was this serious. So it really sucked seeing that. Of course, everything you said, he will be missed, and he had an energy, and it sucks. I can't add anything. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Nico, real fast, did you ever meet Jeff by chance, or?
So, my introduction to this community was partially through Joey Morin's old fan reaction league, and
that's right.
Jeff was actually one of the opponents in my first couple matches. And one of the things I liked about that league was because you could somehow win with just 6 points, even if someone had more points than you did. So that made me feel like a winner. But anyway, for some reason, I didn't befriend Jeff on social media. I don't know, maybe I saw one or two of his posts online and thought to myself, there might be some stuff we'll clash over, and I don't know if I want any additional internet fights happening in my life at the time. I don't know. I can't remember my exact reasoning why I didn't really befriend him online, but I did send him a message a few months ago saying, hey man, my family was in a similar situation. I'm rooting for you to get through this. And sadly, that was not the case. He lost his fight. And Kees knows this from personal experience. I know this from personal experience. Cancer just fucking sucks.
Oh, yeah, so much.
And
Yep.
It sucks to see another person I knew fall to this.
Yeah. And I can't. I think I'm trying to remember if he lived in, because if I recall correctly, he lived in Wisconsin. So I think I might hit up.
Tim Berkala has actually interacted with him.
I think I'm gonna hit up brother Tim and see if he can give me some info, because I'll be honest, if it's a close enough drive, I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
So. Now, Joe. I'm going to presume that because you're still sort of new to maybe like some of this part of what we're talking about, like with all the Schmodown movie trivia kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. No, I wasn't familiar with the guy, but I relate to. I've had some friends and some kind of like outside of my inner circle kind of friends and stuff like that go through similar battles now. More recently, They've been quite lucky and they've won their battles, but I've had friends who've lost their battles as well. And it's just horrible. And you're kind of in this position where you almost don't know how you're supposed to feel. Like, of course it's terrible. Of course it's sad, but it's not like, oh, this person was my best friend. And I think that the internet and these communities, they bring you in to a certain closeness that just didn't exist before. And I don't know, maybe the robot in me is having a hard time still figuring that out, but it's just terrible. And yeah, I've lost a lot of relatives and friends to cancer, and it's just awful. And, you know, anything you can do to support the people and their loved ones going through that kind of stuff, you know, just do it. Take a moment, you know.
And somewhat related, but also somewhat unrelated. I know it's been a couple months, but again, I feel like this is a good time to thank everyone who donated to my Thon drive a few months back. Because, you know, that we just ensured that the families of kids who are going through what Jeff had to go through and what my and Case's dads had to go through, we just ensured that they're not going to have the financial struggle that comes with the fight. And that means the world to me, and that means even more the world to those families.
Absolutely. You know, and it's why I'll forever thank you for being as involved in that as you were, and why I'm so grateful that you were as successful as you were, because, yeah, as Tyler, aka random rock and roll, random rock and reel riffs and reviews said, cancer sucks my fucking balls. Yeah. So we're gonna transition out of this. Now I did have a couple more news stories than what we're gonna do. So we're just gonna do like two. We're gonna knock them out real quick. Then we're gonna go to a break, and then we'll do what we came to do.
Can I just say I can't wait to see you transition from what we just went through to the next thing you're about to say.
Yeah, because
what's it gonna be? Sonic the Hedgehog?
Well, okay. Now here's the funny thing. Believe it or not, I'm actually not really in that big of a rant mood on this particular topic. Now, yeah, sure. The trailer for Sonic the Hedgehog was fucking garbage. Garbage, if ever there was one. Jesus Christ. This got greenlit? This got made? Like Jim Carrey got approved to act like that? Okay.
If I may.
Real quick.
The fact that it looks like that actually drew me in more to want to see it, because it's like, okay, I want to see how big of a train wreck this could be. Or is it just a diamond in the rough? It's very coal looking right now, but there's a diamond somewhere underneath there, and it just needs some polishing.
There's a possibility for all we know. But something very interesting happened, and I don't know how to feel about this. So the director of the movie took to Twitter and actually said that they're going to do a complete redesign of Sonic to make him look a little bit more like the character from the games, because thousands upon thousands of videos were made saying, oh my god, Sonic looks the worst. Oh my god, Sonic looks like shit. Oh my god, Sonic. Now, this movie's supposed to come out in like 4 or 5 months. Don't we think it's a little late in the game to do such a big endeavor for what's going to be a train wreck regardless?
Yeah, not a little late.
Didn't A New Hope, though, wasn't it still going through edits before it actually hit the theater?
To be fair, sure. Like when that Christmas trailer in '76 came out, they only had 4 effects shots done, and all 4 effects shots are in the trailer. But let's also keep in mind, they were still working on it very actively at the time. This is having to undergo a complete character redesign.
And it's your main character.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be in every scene, which means you're re-rendering every single scene. It's going to cost them millions. And the amount that it's going to cost them, under no circumstances are they going to make that back in the box office.
No.
An Avengers Endgame, it is not.
No, it's not. And also, I'll be honest, I'm scared for what this means that the fans can do for future projects. Because essentially the director got bullied into doing this. Now, here, hypothetical. Let's say that another trailer for Rise of Skywalker dropped right now. And the internet does what it does and made such a hullabaloo that they completely have to redesign, like, something. Some big portion of the movie just so that way it can please the fans of the source material. That's a dangerous precedent.
Yeah.
Look, if the internet had its way every time, Brie Larson would have gotten thrown off of Captain Marvel with ease because the internet just can't stand her for whatever reason. I think she's very likable.
Yes. What is wrong with people?
Exactly. But as someone, I think the problem is that this is a video game movie, and they might have in this case it might have been like flashbacks to the Super Mario Brothers movie where nothing looks the same as it did in the game, and so I think they probably thought like, okay, this version of Sonic does not look like anything we grew up with, and that's a gigantic cause for concern about the movie itself. So that might have been where everyone was coming from in this case. Now, the eyes, that's where I understand the complaints. Teeth, calves, I feel like you can leave the legs alone because if you are that
fine, but where everyone's been making the huge hullabaloo is, oh my God, Sonic doesn't have human teeth. He doesn't have human teeth. Why are his teeth human teeth and teeth and teeth and teeth and teeth? Like, seriously, do you want to turn to Chip Skylark and start singing My Shiny Teeth in Me, or what the fuck are you expecting here? But
yeah, my thing about this whole thing is the people who complain are still going to complain. We went through this through the last 2 Star Wars movies. We're about to go through it again. Count on it. So all the people who complained them into spending millions of dollars and fixing this thing, none of them are going to be satisfied.
No,
realistically. And I'm sorry, the internet should in no way be a sounding board for creativity. Let the box office be the box office. It'd just be like, look, I'm going to make this movie the way I was paid. I'm going to make it, and that's how it's going to go. And people can go see it or don't go see it. But like the second you start saying, because I mean, really, it honestly made me think about The Force Awakens. A black stormtrooper? What? You say that enough times. Oh, well, guess what, guys? We've cast a white stormtrooper now. It's all going to be good. Like it could go just that easily.
A woman in the lead? No, we can't have that.
Mm-hmm. So and that's you've just opened those floodgates, just like you said. It's now literally anytime people en masse decide they don't agree on something, and then you can just get the whole bot system in place too. Change this movie because blah blah blah, and 15 people can become 20,000 real quick.
Here's another thought, though. Here's another thought. When was the last Sonic video game that was actually well rated? Because Sonic has had some stinkers in the past couple of years.
2002, with the release of Sonic Adventure 2 Battle.
So another way to look at this is maybe the company that's making this movie, I know Sega has a role in it, but I can't remember what studio, what movie studio. And maybe they're thinking, listen, we've taken a lot of hits with this property in terms of finances. We want this movie to do well so we can make a lot of the money back. So if we have to shell out a little bit more to make this character look good so more people will want to see this movie, then that's what we're going to have to do. So that's another way of looking at it.
No.
Well, no, and yes, you're actually onto something. It just sucks that if that is how it actually is, then honestly, guys, I hate to say this, but the franchise should probably die if that's where we're at. You know, Sonic had its run. It was great for a while, but, you know, especially after you had Sonic kiss a woman. This is a real thing that happened, people.
It is. It is.
It might just be time for the franchise to go.
Yeah, scour the internet. You could probably find Sonic doing more than kissing a woman.
Woo! Rule 34, baby. Rule 34.
Oh, we went there. Oh.
Hashtag not safe for work.
Well, but here's a real question, though. Was she, how badly was she pricked afterwards?
Hello.
By the way,
Yeah.
I didn't get to say anything.
But sorry.
I said this just before we went, before we went on air. I said this to you, like, I was asking about the show notes, and I saw that Sonic the Hedgehog was a thing, and I was like, do I have to watch this trailer? Because the only thing that I did is I saw the thumbnail pop up, like I got a notification, like new trailer for Sonic, and I'm like, nope. And then I went to Twitter and I saw everyone just rant about it, and I'm like, I think my life will be so much better if I never see this trailer, and if I never see this movie, and if I never see anything else than this goddamn screenshot, because apparently it's the most garbage thing ever. However, that I did hear about all the backlash that it had, and I was like, guys, even the Emoji Movie was released, and that had garbage trailers, and it was a garbage movie, and I still regret seeing it for some reason. But T.J. Miller, the voice of the main character, stood behind that project. I don't know what he said in his interviews and if it was real, but at least he acted like he cared and like he did because he still made that movie, and it's still an accomplishment in some way, I guess. So it's like, even if you know it's going to be garbage, just stand behind it. Just accept it. Just, not every movie can be good, and there's still a lot of garbage movies coming out every year. So please don't change it just because is this the director's first time on the internet? Do you not know how to internet? It's like the internet will always criticize something. Like, there will always be people, like, whether it's a lot of people or some people, there will always be people criticizing you. It's like, get it in your head that if you make a movie, some people might not like it. And if it's a big amount, don't care. Just be proud of what you did. Even though it's garbage, be proud of what you did. Because every year garbage movies get made. And I honestly don't understand what they're doing, because, as you say, it might lead to worse things, that directors, actors will actually change something about the movie just because the trailer was not well received. So, what is wrong with the world? I don't get it.
Hasn't that precedent already been opened up before? Like, how many times has Fox changed something with an X-Men movie because of, they wanted something this way? And
Newton's got a new release date.
Yeah, like Fox has a history of being so reactionary when it comes to their X-Men movies, and even when the Fan Four Stick, when they had that property under their belt too. So like it just the littlest thing, they'll find a reason to change it. Because they're like, oh, look at what the MCU is doing. Look at what the DCEU is doing. We got to be more like that.
Or what the MCU is doing.
Or less
They're
like
trying
that.
their damnedest.
So that precedent has already been opened up. It's just this is kind of...
Yeah. Yeah, and let's keep in mind, I mean, focus groups have always existed, and people have changed things based on the opinions of people. But this is different. They brought people in and showed them something specific and asked them what they liked or disliked about that specific thing that they showed them. Not, hey, guys, we're putting this out to the world, and then everybody's like, this is already the worst movie that's ever existed because this guy has teeth and like all this. And I was like, that's not where you get your constructive criticism. So I mean, these people should have, probably did focus group this thing on its own, and they shouldn't be bowing to another one. It's just nuts.
Did they listen to the focus group though? That's another question.
That is another question. That's true, but I mean,
and were the members of the focus group Sonic fans to begin with?
Yeah. Well, to be fair, if you make a movie like this, the movie should, in my opinion, do two things: get new fans excited for Sonic who've never seen it before, and make sure that old fans are also happy with the product, because there are quite a lot of Sonic fans. It's been a property for I don't know how long, longer than I'm alive, I believe.
Decades.
Just about 30 years.
Exactly, longer than I'm alive.
Touche. Well, so now it's funny you bring that up, because, and again, Kees, you actually hit the nail right on the head with this last story that I want to tackle. So, when a franchise needs to, revitalize itself, when it needs to really get a kickstart, when it needs to just really come back in the biggest way possible, some of the ways that's done is by, usually bringing in someone with a lot of talent. Bringing in someone who really knows how to just make a great piece of art, whether that is a video game, an album, or a movie or a TV show. So, a while back, it was rumored that Tarantino, the Quentin Tarantino, was eyeing to be a writer for the next Star Trek film. And allegedly it was going to take place in the original timeline, not the J.J. Abrams Kelvin timeline, which would have been really fascinating. But then because, Tarantino then went on to do Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he took a little break from that, but now it looks like he might be coming back. So, Kees, do we still think Tarantino would be a good fit for Star Trek?
No.
Okay.
Have you seen Star Trek movies, and have you seen Tarantino movies? It doesn't go like Tarantino loves his gore and his violence and his R rating on the movie, and Star Trek is not like that. So
not the slightest.
Not at all. And even some of the things that Tarantino just wrote and didn't direct, it's like Tarantino, he likes to go over the top and go full R-rated with his movies, and I haven't really ever seen him tone down and do more a PG-13 or even PG movie in the vein of Star Trek, where it's about scientific stuff. Like, I just don't see that go together. And while I like Star Trek as a franchise, and while I love Tarantino as a director, it doesn't go together, I think.
It's
Might be
like,
just me.
I'm just trying to think, like, what's a... Ooh, okay. It would be like trying to do tequila with a stout beer. You just don't do it.
No, you don't.
You just don't do it. Joe, does that sound accurate, or is there something that we're missing here?
Well, I don't drink, but other than that,
Fair point.
my thing, I'm of two minds of the whole thing. I am a fan of when a fan gets a hold of a franchise. I think that's what's been happening in Star Wars right now.
Yep.
And you're getting people. So I love that. But I do not like when somebody very stylized dips into something that is already its own world. It's already established. It's already what it is. So to then take somebody who has a very specific style, and I mean, remember even just the panic of J.J. Abrams doing The Force Awakens. They're like, oh, we're going to have all those lens flares and blah, blah, blah. And people were already terrified of what the look of the movie was going to be because the guy had a style. And so the nervousness of, there you go. And so the nervousness of that person bringing his own flavor or his or her own flavor into something that doesn't sit well with people and ruins their childhood, as they will tweet, undoubtedly. so that's kind of where I sit on that. I love that somebody's a fan, but they have to kind of abandon all ego and service the franchise, not themselves. That's really all I can say.
You know what? Fair point. Nico?
I am approaching this from the same mindset of a comedic actor trying drama. There have been a lot of comedic actors who you hear that they're doing a dramatic movie or a dramatic TV show, and you think to yourself, there's no way this is going to work. And then you see their performance, be it Robin Williams, John Cryer, Kristen Wiig, and they knock it out of the park. So in my mindset, Quentin Tarantino, we've seen what he likes to do with his movies, but that doesn't mean that's all he's capable of doing. So, for all we know, he might have the perfect Star Trek movie in his head, and he's just waiting to put it down on paper and then shoot it in film. And for all we know, he might do this franchise the justice that he feels and that we feel it deserves. It's just a matter of we haven't seen it yet, so we won't know what it is until it's made. And I would like to see him get the opportunity to make that, so he can prove to us that he is capable of going outside his comfort zone, that he can follow an IP that's not one of his own, and he can operate within a toolbox that he hasn't made for himself.
It's an interesting thought.
Very interesting thought. Granted, I'm still scared as shit because do you want to know who actually sort of had that same approach when he directed his first Star Trek film? J.J. Abrams. And while I'm not going to crap on 2009 Star Trek.
Why would you? It's a good movie.
It is a good movie. But simultaneously, I get where a lot of the Star Trek purists who have been there from day one have issues. I get it. So, okay. I'm just going to say this because obviously I'm excited as fuck for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That movie looks great.
Yes.
So, Quentin, please do right by us with that movie, and I know you will. But please, if you do decide you're officially going to do this movie, or at the very least write it, do right by Star Trek. Don't do right by yourself. Don't do right by the fans. Do right by Star Trek.
Cheers.
Now, to be fair, we've once before also in Star Trek been worried about a director, which was Justin Lin. Like, really, we're gonna get the guy who did Fast and the Furious? Then you see the first trailer, and it's like, you did Fast and the Furious Star Trek style. And then you see the movie, it's like, oh, this is actually a Star Trek movie.
And the movie's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Not the best, but pretty good.
And then you have a guy like William Shatner who played a character in Star Trek, and he gets a shot at the director's chair.
No!
Yeah. No. So listen, there's no clear-cut formula.
Three boobs, cat lady. No.
Basically, like there's no set-in-stone way to make a Star Trek movie, and there's no set-in-stone type of director to make the perfect Star Trek movie. For all we know, Tarantino could follow that. Could find himself in the positive category. He could also find himself in the negative category. Again, we have to see this movie. He has to sign on the dotted line, I'm going to direct this movie. And we have to see it in order to get our answers.
This is true. This is fair. But yes, I'm surprised we actually did almost a full hour of just talking about all this stuff. So, wow. Okay. Well, then you know what? Then I will actually break my 2-hour rule, and we will go a little lengthy, not super long on Avengers Endgame, but we are going to go a little longer than we normally would, just because I'm feeling nice tonight. And because we had to do
and it's the end game.
Exactly, that too. So guys, we're gonna take a short break. We'll be back in about 3.5 minutes. Please do not go anywhere. We'll see you shortly. Be right back.
Hey everybody, Joe Findlay here from Miscast Commentary. Have you been along for the ride while we've been doing the MCU commentary marathon? If not, where the have you been?
We're going to watch it the way you would have experienced it when you go into the theaters.
Yeah.
And that's how
and you would have experienced it with two assholes talking through the whole thing.
Yes.
The only person who can see the true scope of this is Galactus. He can see the end.
Yes.
That's it.
So think about that, nerds. She knows who's the boss in this house.
She's the Angeler.
The Angeler.
We all know Angeler was the boss.
And he is Tony, so
exactly.
Oh
my God.
This is so
well.
Join us every Friday as we present a new full-length commentary for another Marvel Cinematic Universe movie.
This has a little bit of Oz in it too, I think. Like not the prison, the wonderful world of
Miscast Commentary. Join us or don't. I'm not your mom.
What was the last name of Holly's annoying coworker that gets himself killed in Die Hard?
Just need the last name.
This movie plagued me in like my first matches in my career.
By the way, the last name that we're looking for might be in this match today.
Wait a minute.
Ellis!
Ellis!
Oh, I thought you were saying Oyama.
Oh, it's Ellis!
Mr. Oyama.
God.
You know, another example, like from Hybrid Theory, on the track One Step Closer, most of that verse is actually not in the scale of the instruments, but it creates this odd sense of tension, and that's why it works as well as it does. The same thing with From the Inside. The tension just keeps building up through the verses and through the chorus until we finally hit that bridge where it's just a shit-kicking, I won't waste myself on you! You know, and it's
you have that dissonance that builds and builds and builds until finally you get
you get that
sort of
that,
release. Yeah,
you get that payoff, and it hits you like a ton of bricks.
Work with. The writers probably described in the screenplay that it needed to be very dark and very blurry all throughout. So
desperate.
Yeah, and what I also think is that it was just desperate to compare to Lord of the Rings, to Helm's Deep. Well, I'm like, you shouldn't do that. You should make your own battle. This show has delivered us some great battles. Don't compare it to something like Lord of the Rings. Anyway, that's my biggest issue. I will still say it's a good episode overall. Like good visual effects, well produced and whatnot. It's just a couple of issues. Your thoughts? Overall thoughts a little bit on.
And welcome back to the second half of the Who Cares Anyway podcast. Like I said, guys, we are back. We're live. And yes, we are talking spoilers for a movie that is going into its second weekend with $1.7 billion in the bank. What the sweet fucking Jesus. Okay. This is how bad this is. So last night, just by itself, made a couple $100 million across the world, and you want to know what the two other big releases this weekend, Longshot and The Intruder, did? Combined, $1.1 million.
Ouch.
Yeah.
I have to wonder.
And one of those movies I adore. So that hurts.
Yeah.
That hurts.
Which of those two movies were made by what studio?
I am blanking at the moment. Jonathan Peck, I know you're really good at this, so do me a favor.
Do your job.
please do me a favor and look that up.
Because they had to know this was going to happen. They had to know that if they planned their movie's releases just a week or so after Endgame, they were not going to make their money back.
But by the way, I'm just shocked that there were actually studios thinking, hey, let's release a movie in the same week or the week after Endgame. Who the fuck were you?
Yeah.
Who the fuck are
to be
people?
fair, counter-programming has worked in the past. But man.
By the way, besides Longshot, what was the movie that you mentioned?
The Intruder.
The Intruder.
Oh, that's
was
the Dennis
Sony.
Yeah, Dennis Quaid. So
The Intruder is distributed by Sony and Longshot by Lionsgate. Then again, two studios that I would totally see why.
By the way, why didn't we mention in the first hour Amy Pascal is no longer with Sony? That would have been a good discussion.
Do we care?
I don't even know what it's about, so no.
Well, Amy Pascal was sort of like one of their big creative heads, and then she left for a deal at Universal, and
Cool. That's a smart decision.
yeah, well, sort of, but also you have to keep in mind that she's kind of responsible for some of the big Sony stinkers of the last few years, so yeah, Anyway, let's dive in. Let's start talking about some important shit. Let's talk Avengers Endgame. So, guys,
Tony Stark dies.
Somebody yelled that at me in the parking lot.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, screw that dude.
Asshat. Gotta love that. But yeah, so you guys get out of the chat if you haven't seen the movie, but obviously if you're still here, you've seen it.
But by the way, if you've not seen the movie, what have you been doing in the last week? Everyone has been seeing this movie. It made almost $2 billion.
Listen. I have friends who didn't see it until yesterday. People have lives. People have lives, and
I got
sometimes
news
those
for you.
lives
They're not your friends anymore.
People have lives, and sometimes those lives prevent them from getting to the theater. Jeremy Adams isn't seeing this movie until tonight because he has stepsons who wanted to see it with him. So people have their own lives, and sometimes they can't get to the theater. I'm just going to defend those people.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. But yes, so all right. 5 second warning. 5, 4, 3, 2. All right.
Thor's fat.
So let's start this off. Nice. And why is Thor fat? Because first off, I wasn't expecting Thanos to die in the first 15 fucking minutes of the movie.
That blew my mind.
Nobody did.
Like, I thought the movie was going to be like, what? An hour of just sort of sitting around and moping, and then go off and fight him, and there's going to be a big battle, and then somehow they were going to get the gauntlet off him, and there's going to be like a big chase across time and space, but no. They just kill him like that.
I mean, he went for the head.
He did go for the head, and honestly, probably one of the darkest jokes of the movie. And I liked it a lot.
I loved it.
Just that whole scene, though, because they attacked him so hard, the arm chopped off in a second, and I'm just like, whoa.
By the way, nobody has talked about this, but can we talk about how messed up it is that Nebula had a child Boba Fett to Jango Fett's head moment after Thor decapitates his ass?
This is true.
No one's
I didn't think much about it, but that's true, yeah.
This is true.
You know,
No, what I loved about that scene is that essentially it does what the entire audience wanted. Like, can we just kill this motherfucker right now? Because we hate him so much for what he did in the last scene of Infinity War that we want him dead. So the directors were like, okay, we're going to give that to you. He's going to die. And then we're going to solve it. Because I think that essentially everyone was expecting some big battle with him. They take off the gauntlet, they take the time stone, they go back in time to fix it. No, actually, that didn't happen. So already in the first couple of minutes of this movie, it subverts expectations, at least to me. I didn't expect them to go the route that they did, but I loved that they did it, the way they did it. So
yeah. M. Night Shyamalan was the master of the twist ending. These guys are the master of the twist beginning.
Okay.
And the just the idea from there is exactly like you said. It's a sucker punch, and then literally your first thought with, 2 hours and 48 minutes to go is now what?
Now what?
Yeah. I remember the second time that I went to watch it, there was someone next to me who was seriously, after that scene, with his arm like, oh, what? He was seriously sitting there like this. He didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And then of course, once we come out of that, which and actually, a quick side note. The first time I watched this movie, I wasn't that big a fan of Captain Marvel's first scene. Of course, I love her at the end of the movie, but on the second watch this time, I'm just like, okay, you're cool.
I was on board with her.
Yeah,
it just makes too much sense, and I actually really enjoyed Captain Marvel. I initially thought that I wouldn't, and I saw it very late, but I really liked it, and I really liked her inclusion in the movie, and also like, how else is Tony gonna get back to Earth?
Touché.
It just makes too much sense.
It makes way too much sense. Which, yeah, speaking of, like, I'm actually really glad, like, as soon as he gets back, sure, Cap is there to catch Tony as he's practically falling onto the ground and then hands him off to Pepper. But I'm glad that Cap and Tony still had their shit. They still had their issues. It was that wonderful piece of continuity from Civil War where, they left on just the worst terms possible, and they still have those feelings.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to even think about the fact that like so many movies have come and gone, and the two of them had not been connected since Civil War. And it's like, I know they're not in most of those movies, but I mean, it's still like 5 Marvel movies between the two of them. And then it's just like, oh shit. Yeah. It's like, you're right. It's
Strange,
like
Guardians 2, Spider-Man Homecoming, Thor Ragnarok, Infinity War, Captain Marvel, Black Panther, Ant-Man and the Wasp, 8 movies.
Yeah. Crap. Like, so yeah, that's a long time. And nobody's thinking about that. And I think maybe your first thought is, hey, everybody's just going to come together. It is what it is. It's like, no, these guys have, held their issues over a long period of time. And now there's less people between them. It's just
like even in Infinity War, they showed you how strained the relationship is. Cause like Tony has a phone number. Tony has the phone, and yet he won't punch the number in. Because he's still too proud. He's still too proud of what side he was on. He still feels he was right, and now here we are. I nearly died in space, but I'm still mad at you.
Yeah, and I loved every moment of it.
Mm-hmm.
It also then led us to this great. So of course, all that shit happens, all that goes down, and then the movie does the unthinkable. At least in my book, we jump 5 years later.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea that could have been a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And where we pick up is, Steve is running this like support group for people who have obviously lost others during the snap, and I actually really love how we were introduced to that scene with one of the directors, Joe Russo.
Yeah.
And now, okay,
he's talking about the Mets.
He's talking about the Mets. And there's a quick side tangent I just want to go on here. Okay.
By the way, we completely forgot to mention Hawkeye and his family disappearing. By the way, the daughter is played by, I think, one of the Russo's brothers' daughters in real life.
Oh, nice.
Well, to be fair, that opening scene with Hawkeye, I was like, yeah, that's going to be the opening scene, and it just makes way too much sense.
Yeah.
But it still hurt. It still hurt.
It hit
good
me.
Lord. Yes, it hurt. And I was gonna bring it up in a moment here, Nico. So thank you. But no, and a quick side tangent here. So I know that everybody likes to, I've been seeing this trend lately where, yes, there has been still next to no LGBTQ representation in both MCU, Star Wars, and even DCEU. That's true. But can we just be glad that we're at least starting? And what better way to have a start than to have the director of the movie play a gay man?
But he isn't gay in real life. There are so many people complaining, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now?
I was about to say, and how many men have worn drag on stage to play female characters? Or how many women have dressed in dude attire to play dudes? I mean, Hilary Swank won an Oscar for doing that, for God's sake.
You're not going back far enough. Like, William Shakespeare's plays had people in drag.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were no women in those plays. It was every single actor was a man.
Yeah. Well, assuming that we're not to believe Shakespeare in Love, Best Picture winner.
Yes. Well, let's go ahead and not believe that, because that whole thing.
Yeah. Anyway. But no, so then we have that wonderful moment. Then we see that Nat is essentially kind of taking over the administrative role of the Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
And
But by the way, they
please.
changed the hair of both Nat and Captain Marvel, and it's not for the better.
Oh,
It was a thing.
I like Nat's hair. I like
Nat's hair was fine. Carol's, I was kind of on the side of Rocket. I was like, ooh, this is an Easter egg from the comics, but it doesn't look great
work.
visually.
No.
Yeah, like Nat's was a story. Nat's was, I'm not really worried about dyeing my hair blonde anymore because there's bigger fish to fry. And I was like, okay, I'm down with that. But yeah, I was like, I actually was taken aback more so than not any, but most of the cameos that, like, the real surprise appearances that happened in this movie. Her hair went, and I went, what? Like, I was just like, what did you do? And I'm just staring at her. And I'm like, what's happened? You look like Miley Cyrus.
Lots of shit has happened. We did a 5-year jump.
Yeah. You know, and as we're wrapping up this little scene with, you know, that where we first see Carol with the haircut, you know, she has a bit of a one-on-one with Rhodey, and he tells her that Hawkeye's been doing some shit. We need to get involved. And in that same scene, we have Captain America stepping into frame, and again, they have just a wonderful conversation where, I love this line where she says, "Knock off the optimistic attitude, or I'm going to throw my sandwich at you." Or
Something along those lines.
I'll hit you with my sandwich.
I'll hit you with a peanut butter sandwich.
and all that he says is just force of habit. I love self-aware writing like that.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And it's such a sweet moment because it's at this point where on the second time watching it, I start to get a little sad. I'm like, oh shit. Shit.
Yeah.
Because
but there's a little bit of... Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And actually, in Kees, last week you and I talked about how there were like little moments where you could have cut them out and it wouldn't have necessarily made a big difference.
No. Everything in the first act is needed. I am not saying anything about the first act.
Oh.
That was all needed. I'm talking about the second act. We'll get there.
We'll get there. Okay, we'll get there in a moment. But no, Joe, go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to say it was also a line that just kind of reminds you that even in the face of what they have experienced, which, I mean, you know, you're sitting there and you're seeing how grim everything is still. And somebody made a comment to me while I was watching the movie for the first time. They're like, still nobody's picked up a piece of trash in 5 years. But but it was just that kind of thing. And you're being led in on how this is still crushing people. And Captain America still has that, well, I'm still me. Like through everything, I still am who I am. And that was what a really good example of that was his kind of like, go get him sort of attitude.
That's been Cap's whole story from the very beginning. Is he's always putting others before himself.
Yes.
Like even in this case, his best friends in the world. He sees them sad and he's like, I have to be that little beacon of hope to make them hopeful because that's what I've been put on this earth to do.
And actually, and speaking of Cap. Jonathan Peck, you actually brought up a really fun point that I didn't notice. So when I see it again, I'll have to keep my eyes peeled for it. But apparently, Jim Starlin, the creator of the Thanos character, is actually also in the rehab group scene at the beginning. So that's
fun.
That's fun.
I like that.
I like that a lot.
Yes.
And you know, everyone is still trying to adjust. They're just trying to just get along and do their thing. But then something happens. A dirty little rat running across a van.
And true.
You know, and it bumps some controls, and all of a sudden, pow! Out comes Scott Lang in San Francisco. And now our plot begins. As he... Well, okay. And technically, this is the inciting incident of where the plot begins. But we still have to build up some character moments for a little while where, first off, I'm really shocked that Cassie survived the snap.
Yeah. But that was a very nice moment.
That was a wonderful moment, but I'm just surprised because I would have thought for sure the writers would have killed her off.
Well, I had heard some casting news like last year before I finally decided to stop looking at casting news and rumors because I wanted to just enjoy the movie when I got to the theater. But one of the last things I remember hearing was that they were going to have an older Cassie Lang in there. Oh. What I was unsure of was it going to be an alternate reality, or now I realize, the time jump. Here's where they fit her in. And notice the line he says when they first hug. He's like, "You're so big." That's a callback to the comics because she eventually becomes Stature, the character of Stature. But also, and Malcolm brought this up on Crisis on Earth Plex earlier this week. Scott Lang has missed at least 10 years of his daughter's childhood. Yep. 3 of those years were spent in prison, 2 of them under house arrest, and now 5 of them in the quantum realm.
Under house arrest, he did have her.
Yeah, but still, that's not really getting to be in her life that much. She's getting to be in his, but he's not getting to be in hers because he's on lockdown. Yeah. So he's just missed so much of her life, and you can tell in his eyes that it kills him. But he's so happy to see that she's still around, so that there's still time to be spent with her at all.
Yeah, and to get dark for a moment, I feel like the movie ends if she's not alive. If he goes to that house and it's empty, he kills himself.
Probably.
Yeah.
That's the end, and that's the end of that. Nobody thinks about jumping through time. So that's he has lost his one and only at this point, and knowing that everybody else has lost their one and only, and cheery attitude aside, I think that would probably be it for him.
Okay, how it should have ended, make that a thing.
Ooh.
Or what if Ken Jeong had gotten dusted, and then no one's there to let him out of the cage?
But
oh my God! Yeah, that was him.
Yeah, we got so close to getting the entire cast of Community into this friggin' system before.
No Joel McHale though.
No Joel McHale, no Gillian Jacobs.
No Chevy Chase either.
Yeah, but
anyway, Case.
He snapped himself out of the Community.
Never mind. I wanted to say something, but the moment's passed, so just move on.
No. Come on.
Oh, the moment has move on.
All right. Fine. And then of course, as they have the lovely reunion, now here comes Scott Lang showing up at the front door of the Avengers, and like I said, now the plot begins.
Yeah.
And the sandwich gets eaten.
And the sandwich does get eaten because Paul Rudd has not eaten anything for 5 years. That man is starving. Although for him, it was only 5 hours because, ladies and gents, this is a fucking time travel movie, which normally would piss me off to no end. But here...
Yeah, about that, that's probably one of the issues I have with this movie.
Oh.
Okay, it's a small issue. Because honestly, I think the time travel makes no sense when you take the stones and you put them back. If you put them back, how would it not play out the way it did already?
Okay, I actually have the answer.
Okay, to be fair, it's very mind-boggling, and in the end, I don't care. There's this thing called suspension of disbelief. I just don't care. But if I think about this for 2 seconds, I'll go nuts. So I don't want to think about it, and I don't want to.
But I do have an explanation for this, and this is one of the benefits of having a cousin who works for Entertainment Weekly and who can get this inside information. But also, it's on YouTube, so you can see it for yourself. My cousin Anthony Bresnikan, he had a talk with the Russos and asked if he could get a little bit more explanation to how the time travel aspect worked. And really, their answer to them was, it's not exactly time traveling so much as it is dimension hopping. So for each time they went in the quantum realm, they were basically going into alternate dimensions that just so happen to have sort of the similar timelines taking place. So they're taking the stones out of those dimensions and then putting them back before they ever took them in the first place, thereby removing the branches that the Ancient One explains would be formed when she was talking to Bruce Banner.
Except here's the thing, though. If you've seen Doctor Who, you would know that creates a crap ton of new branches in their place.
Yeah, exactly. If you just change the tiniest bit, doesn't matter if you put it back, the timeline will be alternated, and there is a completely different outcome of what happens in the future. So it's like the time travel aspect in this movie doesn't make sense, but there's this thing called the suspension of disbelief that I don't care.
But time travel doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah.
Because we haven't done it yet.
No, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, it's one of those things, and it's kind of like the Back to the Future argument kind of fits into the Back to the Future 2 argument fits into this a little bit, and then the Ancient kind of reconfirmed it, is that like any alterations create a different outcome, but it creates a different timeline. What they've done is found a way to get back to their timeline. So while something different happened over here, they went back to over here where everything's still its own thing because it's their past technically, like, because that's what they say at one point. He's like, this isn't the present anymore. Once we go back to the past is our future. And like, again, you say that kind of stuff that makes your brain tie into a knot, and then you just remember suspension of disbelief. And all I want is an explanation. And in this one, they were like, hey, by the way, this is the math I've worked out. It's going to work. And I'm like, that's good enough for me. Yeah. I believe in space wizards, so I'm totally fine with this.
Yeah.
And you know what, David B., I see you're in the chat. Very happy to have you here, sir. We love seeing you here. But now you brought up a great question. Who cares about, or who cares about the rules of time travel? I actually don't care, as long as whatever rules a movie sets to on a larger than life concept, as long as the movie sticks to said rules, cool.
Yeah.
When the movie breaks those rules, I got problems. Yeah. And we'll get to the biggest offender at the end of the chat. But so of course they go see Tony, who now he's got a kid, Morgan Stark, and she's just the cutest fucking thing ever. Oh my god.
I know, and it was at that moment that I realized no, because that's where you set the stakes. That's the stakes of what he has to lose if they go through with this. And the moment you see her wearing Mama's mask, and you see how adorable she is, you're like, oh, no.
Motherfucker. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, this movie really beats me up because I am a father to a daughter. So you hit the Hawkeye, then you hit the Scott Lang, then you hit the Iron Man. Basically, boom, boom, boom. I'm just sitting there, I'm just like, no.
Oh, dude.
So, Kees, maybe you and Arena should just never have kids, and you'll be okay.
No, we already planned that. We're not gonna do that.
Good job.
Move on.
Good job. Anyway. So yeah, and of course, he wants none of it. Abso-fucking-lutely none of it. And let's be fair here. He has everything to lose at this point. He has his second chance. So, of course, he refuses to be a part of it. Until...
No, he doesn't. No. That's the thing. He says that he refuses to be a part of it because he's like, if I need to work with people and they tell me what to, he will lose his mind. That's really Tony. So it's like, I'm going to make this thing on my own in secret while no one knows about this, because then if I fuck up, then it's my fuck up and I can own to it. He's okay with that because he knows he won't fuck up. He's Tony.
Exactly.
So that's what I love
and of
about
course, he doesn't fuck up because he has Friday make a little model of how this thing would work. And sure as shit, the model proves it would be successful, which leads, again, just a cute little moment. Oh, shit. Shit?
Yeah.
I I love the character of Morgan in this movie. She is just the most adorable little thing ever.
I would have liked her to call out language.
Oh,
just as a little comeback.
Except here's the problem, Joe. That would have raised some questions.
She's too young to understand that reference. Way too young.
Oh God! All right. And then, so what does he do? He shows back up, and finally, after 5 fucking years.
Hold on, you're jumping too far ahead because he at first doesn't go through with it.
You're right.
He has to. He's basically lying to himself and saying, "I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this." And then Pepper's like, "Yes, you do. Go. You're not going to sleep or rest until you go through with this because you know you have this inside of you, this need to help others. So go. Just go. We'll be fine. Go time travel."
Good point. And
By
Pepper
the way,
is wonderful in this.
Yeah. In the meantime, because the moment that Tony shows up, they already have 2 big characters there that I'm not the biggest fan of in this movie. I get the argument for both of them, but I'm just not the biggest fan of Thor and Banner in this movie. The fact that they combined Hulk with Banner, it was weird. And I'm still not over it. After I saw it twice, I'm still not over it. I'm like, I get why you do it. I understand. I completely understand every single argument why they did it, and it works kind of, but I'm not fully on board with it. And the same with Thor. Like, is it really funny to see him fat, playing Spider-Man on his whatever?
No,
he
he's playing Fortnite. He was playing Fortnite.
Oh, whatever. Yeah. I thought it was Spider-Man. Anyway, he's playing some games with Korg and Megan, New Asgard, and he's fat, drinking beer. It was funny. It's just to continue that character throughout the movie. I was not 100% okay with it. Well, I get why they do it, but
Roka gave me the best explanation for Thor. And that's that some people handle depression in their own ways. And basically, at this point in time, Thor is depressed because he failed. He failed to save the universe when he had that chance, and he blew it. And so what is he doing? He's basically drinking himself fat and dragging himself further into a depression. Yeah. So that I understand. And also, at first it was a little weird for me, too, seeing Professor Hulk. Seeing this amalgamation of the 2 minds into one body, but I think the explanation they gave is justifiable.
I know.
You stop looking at Hulk as the disease and start looking at him as the cure. Merge the best of both worlds and become
set up for mutants in Phase 4.
Yeah. Potentially, yeah. Yeah, my thing, I think what Thor was missing, I liked Thor in it, especially when you get towards the end when he starts like becoming badass again. But I think what you were really missing, and I mean, you get it a little bit with his mom, but you're missing the mask falling away for a minute. Like he's like, yeah, I'm drinking and whatever, but I needed a collapse before everything happened. Like, he's acting, everything's okay. Boom, everything's not okay.
We did get that though, but it was later on in the movie when they used the glove. So
yeah, exactly. And then I think with Professor Hulk, which fine, it's in the comics, it is what it is, and I've heard a lot about him, and so what. My friend and co-host made the best comment to me about him. His biggest disappointment was you never got to see Hulk, because the last time you see Hulk, he's getting his ass beat by Thanos, and there's no redemption for the Hulk in this one. In that aspect, like you don't even get to see him turn more Hulk to take on Thanos for a minute. He's just kind of like, he might as well have just been Mark Ruffalo through the whole movie, because I mean, other than that scene where they're back in New York and he's like just like lightly tossing around cars, you don't get Hulk out of it.
Well, okay, to be fair, the only moment that he really does something is when he snaps the fingers. That is when you needed Hulk. But other than that, it could have been better.
Mm-hmm.
It could have. Now with Thor, it worked for me, but only it only worked for me when they weren't going for the jokes.
Yeah.
To me, there were just way too many jokes thrown at Thor's expense. Because, again, as someone who lives with depression, could have used, maybe not such a exaggerated version of that. That would have been helpful. Thanks. But while I have an issue with that, I actually really appreciate how it, what the story reason as to why we get Fat Thors, because just think about this. Ever since the second Thor movie, he's done nothing but lose. Thor the Dark World, he loses his mother. Thor Ragnarok, he loses his father, half of Asgard, and loses his sister. Infinity War, he loses half the fucking universe, his brother, and Heimdall. That's, like, the fact that he doesn't kill himself is a goddamn miracle.
Mm-hmm. True.
So, if this is what we wind up getting as a result of that, like, I'm fine with that, but great idea, but over-the-top execution.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't really help the film's argument, because, again, you could have used Thor to make a great case for mental health, in my opinion.
No, and that's the thing. Like, I honestly think that when we see him at first, the first time that we go to New Asgard and see him there, the jokes work, and also the emotional points work. It's just that they keep it for the entirety of the movie. That's kind of the thing. Like, just use it for that one scene. Let him get over it and get back to the Thor that we know.
Which I think they're gonna do that in the next Guardians. Which that is, to me, is where he should get over it. Because I actually disagree. I think for this entire film, he needed to hit this lowest point possible before he makes his true recovery in his next appearance. Because let's face facts, Hemsworth ain't going anywhere. This franchise is essentially his now.
Yeah.
And he did kind of have a semi-recovery in the big battle towards the end.
Yes, but he's still, and I know a lot of people who are plus size that actually appreciate that he still had the gut. And I'm like, you know what? Cool. As I say, yeah, Joe. Now you have a cosplay for Halloween. You have a Thor cosplay you can really do.
No, my cosplay is still Lobot who let himself go.
Yes.
He's really bummed out by how Bespin went down, and he just takes to chicken wings. And
forgot about me.
He just sits in front of a processor all day. Just
the whole thing is him trying to put his headset thing on. He's just like, it doesn't fit anymore over his cheeks, and he's just bummed.
Oh my god. I was gonna say, okay, David B is here in the chat, and Malcolm. Okay, if you guys honestly do Thor cosplays, you guys gotta send me pictures of that on Twitter. You have to do that. No getting out of it. Fucking do it, please.
I'll retweet it.
Awesome, as will I. So now, I'm glad we got that out of the way, because now, to give my quick thoughts on Hulk, I just wanted one scene of true Hulk rage mode, and of course it should have happened in the final battle, but no, we didn't get that.
Final battle was already too big.
This is true. Fair point. And again, we'll get there in a little bit. So now everyone is somewhat ready to go. We got our crew assembled. And actually, and real fast, how funny was that taco moment?
Oh, it was great.
Oh God. Ant-Man just wants his goddamn taco.
Ant-Man just wants a damn taco.
And then Nebula is like, Rhodey, watch out. There's an idiot sitting in the landing zone.
Yeah, my buddy made a good point. He's like, everybody really shits on Scott Lang, and really the whole course was his idea. I'm like, treat him nice for a minute. I was like, And it was just literally everybody. He's like Tony. It treats him like garbage for the entire movie. And I was like, yeah, poor. I was like, but that's his lot in life. He's like, he's a lesser superhero. Like in his own mind, and probably because in everybody else's mind around him.
Also when he's like, do you want to take a picture with me? I'm Ant-Man. What?
Oh, that was amazing.
Oh my god. Like, okay, normally I have a problem with that kind of humor, but for some reason, the way that Paul Rudd does it, it flows perfectly. Because, yeah, like, that's the kind of douchebag moment that I actually really appreciate.
Mm-hmm. I love those things a lot, too. I mean, it was very similar to, like, in Ragnarok when they're taking pictures with Thor on the street.
And, I'm sorry that Jane dumped you.
Yeah.
Oh, she didn't dump me. I dumped her. It was a mutual
dumping.
Yep. I was going to say, well, was that the name of one of their sex positions, a mutual dumping?
Only in Cleveland.
Oh, God.
Oh,
God.
Oh, brother.
Oh.
Their team name is the Browns. Now we know why.
Oh, by the way, this suddenly gives a whole new meaning to the Cleveland show theme song. My name is Cleveland Brown, and I'm proud to be. Yes, I went there.
Oh,
we took this down a road.
Sorry, oh my God, David B. That's just wrong. he typed in the chat, new search for Pornhub.
I'm actually going to see what comes up.
Oh. I'm proud to say my podcast. I was looking at my website, and one of the search parameters that comes up where my website comes up a lot is fart porn.
Oh.
Because we had an episode called Fart and Fight, and I guess it like slips into searches every now and again.
Lovely.
And I was just sitting there, so I wear that like a badge of honor now.
Lovely. Awesome. Oh my God. Okay. Yes. Back to Avengers. Okay. So now one of the best moments I actually will have to admit is seeing how the group puts together, tries to figure out where the Infinity Stones are and at what time, and when they would be at those certain locations. And I mean, of course, Thor is just ridiculous in his attempt.
Jane thing.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was so awkward. It was so great. You know, but.
And Hulk just sitting there.
Just stop. You know, but I love how they had that moment of, you know, where Tony, Nat, and Bruce had that moment of like, wait a minute, are you telling me that at one time there are 3 stones in New York?
Yeah.
And it's like, and just like, oh, yeah, touche. Damn. Okay. Cool. And of course now, once everybody gets their, oh, sorry, we did. I fucking knew I was gonna forget. I was gonna skip over him. Hawkeye.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy Renner, you fucking killed it.
Literally.
In this movie.
Yeah. Yes.
And he killed it.
Yeah. To be fair, I've never really been a big fan of either Jeremy Renner as an actor or Hawkeye as a character. But in this movie, it's like, oh, dude, he's good.
I feel like they made good for him where they failed to in Avengers 1 and 2.
Yes.
Okay.
See, I feel like
Ultron did do some good for him, but it was only the start.
I feel like Ultron is his movie. Like it's his movie to shine, and he really does. Like he shows that he's capable of so much more, despite being just the bow and arrow guy in a lot of fans' eyes. Like he shows that everyone has a place in this fight, and his big arc in this movie was.
Oh.
Well, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. But basically, he's the character of Ronin. He went from Hawkeye to Ronin. It matches the journey he's been on from point A to this 5-year jump point B,
But-
where he's just lost everything. He's lost
But-
everything, so he's fighting like he's lost everything, and he has nothing left to lose.
Yeah.
By the way, I hear so many people say that Hawkeye went Ronin, and every time I hear that, I'm like, Ronin is a villain in the MCU.
I know.
No,
It's
different spelling. different
I know,
R-O-N-A, yeah.
but it sounds
Yeah.
the same.
Car
I think
chase
of
movie
I
spelling.
think of Ronin the Accuser.
Yeah.
Ronin.
There you go.
You could just say it like
But-
that.
hmm But yeah, he was in his own way kind of the Punisher. He was just taking down bad guys who he felt deserved to be taken out in the snap more than his family. And that was just his arc. And I was just kind of like, that's awesome. Like that
It's
is,
dark, but it's awesome.
yeah, that was super
Absolutely.
dark. But it's a dark that you don't get in the MCU. I mean, it's kind of like, it's the kind of thing that any DC movie would have made their whole movie.
This is true, sadly. And when we finally get that first moment with him, he's just so broken.
Yeah.
And it's
He's
so
lost it completely.
it's so hard to look at. And you know, and actually, it's kind of funny that last week we made so many comparisons to Return of the King, and here we fucking go again. I feel like Hawkeye is the Pippin of this movie,
Huh.
at least for
Where
me.
you, where you suddenly got character.
Yeah, because as much as I love Pippin in Fellowship and Two Towers,
It's just comic relief.
he's just comic relief. He's just a member of the group.
Yes. But his value is proven in.
But his value is incredibly proven in Return of the King, and just like how Hawkeye is incredibly proven value in this movie. So once they pick him up, and like I said, everything else happened, the taco and whatnot. Fucking Cleveland Brown. Oh my God, people.
No. Okay, we had this tangent.
We had this,
on
we
with
had
the
this
movie.
tangent. We had it.
They go back to the movies.
So now everyone is set up. We're ready to go. We have our time that we're going to go to, and that is New York in 2012, Morag in 2014, and Asgard in 2013.
Also 2014.
2013.
Asgard in 2013, yeah, because it's the Avengers, Thor: The Dark World, and Guardians of the Galaxy. And then while they go to Morag, they'll also go to Vormir.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so let's start with New York, because
Yes. I was just so happy to see the Avengers 360 shot in IMAX 3D because I'd never seen that in IMAX 3D, and it was awesome.
Hashtag America's ass.
That is America's ass.
I was gonna say that was definitely the highlight of that scene.
Yeah. Well, who would have thought you were going to get a mirror match in this movie with everybody you have to square off against each other? And I really liked, because I mean, that's one of the things I loved Back to the Future 2 for, is how well they and I know I've mentioned it a lot already in this one, but how well they dip back into the old one and make you feel like you're in the old movie, in the original movie. And they did a lot of the same here, but they showed you so much more. Like, you see the craziness happening over here, but then you also see Hulk mad about having to take the stairs. So, you get kind of everything.
Take
and
stairs.
Yeah.
But by the way, also just one of the best moments, and I remember a few years ago that a comic came out, and there was like the teasing picture of Captain America saying "Hail Hydra," and everyone lost their fucking mind about it, and they used it in this movie, and it was perfect.
Oh, I was so happy with it.
Which now, and I vividly remember this, where we talked for what was like 10 minutes, on like one of the very first episodes of this show. We talked about Frank Grillo talking about possibly being like a flashback thing in this movie, and well, somebody didn't have a positive reaction to it. Then they're sitting on this panel. Oh, sorry, am I throwing you under the bus, Case?
I honestly didn't know how to feel about it back then.
Neither
but
did I,
after-
to be fair.
Look,
I didn't know.
The thing was just I had no idea how the time travel element would play out, and the way it played out.
No
was
one did. No one did.
Yeah.
Chris Tuckman says he did. Anyway, that's not the point. The thing is that I like knowing that Frank Grillo would be in the movie before the movie and having my own expectations about it. I think that would be wrong. But the way they did it, yes, of course.
Oh yeah, of course, of course. And like I said, Kees, you and I were both dead wrong about how we thought that was going to play out.
Yeah.
So, and you know what? It was a nice, pleasant surprise.
Yeah.
Even though Crossbones is still a piece of shit, but he's supposed to be a piece of shit.
Well, he gets what he deserves.
Yes, he does.
But he was just one of so many people who just showed up in this movie from the MCU who I was just, whoa, like almost like only a couple minutes after Robert Redford shows up. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, and it was just, and it kept going like bloody Natalie Portman.
Well,
that was never supposed to happen.
That was not her.
That was
Natalie
technically a
Portman.
deleted scene.
Yeah.
Okay, but still, I mean, I never expected to see her face in a Marvel movie again. And the fact that she even showed up to the premiere.
Yeah, she did show up to the premiere, which was interesting.
Fair point. You know, and so of course, you know, like, so Hulk actually has a great conversation with the Ancient One, and he actually convinced him to give him the Time Stone. And just when our dearly beloved dingbats almost get the Space Stone.
Hulk, don't make Hulk take the stairs.
Don't make
That's
Hulk take the
moral of
stairs.
Story.
Because, well, they screw that up pretty quickly. Because, yeah, as we mentioned, that is America's ass. Actually gets the mind. No, not the Mind Stone.
Yeah, the Mind Stone in
Mind
Loki's scepter.
You're right. Okay, fair enough. You're right. So he gets that, but the Space Stone is now. They now have to go somewhere else. But while all the other shenanigans are going on, we have our first encounter on Asgard, where, of course, who has the Reality Stone? Oh, it's currently inside of Natalie Portman.
Jane Foster.
Because of that stupid fucking thing, and it's just, ugh. Anyway.
Yeah, it's the worst movie of the MCU we know.
Yeah. Which is funny because this scene actually might be one of my favorites in the movie.
That's an opinion.
Rene Russo is, of course, back as
Frigga.
I'm not making the Kalinowski mistake.
Frigga.
Frigga. So Frigga is back, and she has just a great moment with Thor, who, of course, because he failed, because he fucked up, he's having all these panic attacks, and he's freaking out, and she knows just what to say to calm him down and to give him the right piece of advice, even though she is moments away from dying.
Yep.
And I just love how they just have that moment of, it's going to be okay.
Who knows more, a mother or Baskin Robbins?
Well done.
Well, Baskin and Robbins always finds out.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Moms know ahead of time, though. They know when you're going to screw around.
Right. Scott Lang also found out.
Yeah. And, so of course they have that moment, and then they're off and they're away, which then we cut to Morag. And, okay. As someone who doesn't absolutely adore the original Guardians of the Galaxy, you want to know something? I loved what they did with this scene. I loved it, because I'm still mad at you, Star-Lord. Fuck you.
Come get your love.
It was just awesome that you see the scene as it is in Guardians of the Galaxy, where you hear, as the audience hear the music at first, and then you realize, oh wait, it's just him listening through the headphones, and then you have the moment like, so he's an idiot. Yeah.
Yep. and I love how they made a little Raiders reference as they're trying to grab the
Oh, yeah,
Power Stone.
booby
Which,
traps.
oh my god, that was amazing.
And she just gives him a look of like, dude, I've got so many robotic parts that this isn't going to hurt at all. Watch me just burn my hand and grab it.
Yep.
That was which was kind of an iRobot moment, because almost the exact same thing happens in iRobot when he reaches through to get the little what have you through the shield, and he's like, I was built for this, because he has a thicker exoskeleton or whatever.
What I loved about that entire part is it suddenly makes you understand the importance of Guardians of the Galaxy in the entire MCU. Because initially when that movie came out, a lot of people said, this doesn't feel like an MCU movie. This feels like a space opera in and of its own. And suddenly you see how important it is that it is actually the first Infinity Stone that Thanos knew about. And that Thanos was, at that point, oh, these things, I can get them, and I need to get them, and I have people who can make sure that I can get there. And of course, then you get all the shit with the two nebulas and their robotic parts interconnecting, which then sets up the rest of the plot of the movie.
Yes.
And can I just say how good Karen Gillan is in this movie? She is like, she was the star.
This is her movie. This is basically her movie.
Basically.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And how meaty. You get to play the hero, you get to play the villain, you get to play the conflict in between, and like it was just out of this world. You get to play past, future. I was like, man, like she must have saw that script and just threw it up in the air. Just,
And another thing, this movie is really good at throwing so much at you and throwing so much at you that's so good that things you would have thought about if not so much was happening, you don't really think about. Because while Nebula and War Machine are going to get the Power Stone, where do Nat and Clint go to get the Soul Stone? Which you forget until they actually get on Vormir. Oh, crap, one of them has to die.
Yeah.
No!
I realized that the moment that they took off together, I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Yep. And luckily, okay, well, that's of course because the screenwriters wrote it, but it makes sense that you have two characters who do have a bond together, so then it's all good.
Yeah, any other combo of people, then it doesn't work.
No.
Outside of maybe Cap and Tony, but no.
Maybe, but you save that for the end.
We save that for the end, yes.
Mm-hmm.
As, you know, and as you guys alluded to, it's when this is happening that, oh shit, we almost forgot that Nebula is still working for Thanos at this time period. And then they have a weird Bluetooth connection, and here we fucking go. So now Thanos is back, he's younger, he's angrier, and, you know, this is not Thanos from Infinity War.
No.
This is pissed off Thanos, and this is dangerous Thanos, and
well, this is the Thanos who suddenly realizes that his year-long plan that he was planning out for so long suddenly is not going to go the way he thinks because of these assholes trying to ruin it.
This is not.
Yeah.
I was say he must have been following Luke Skywalker's philosophy. This is not gonna go the way you think. You know. So of course he finds a way to track down the other Nebula, captures her, and actually, come to think of it, that's right. Because Rhodey made the jump back. Never mind.
Yeah, Rhodey made the jump back. Yeah.
Yep.
With the Power Stone.
Luckily.
And because of the magic of time travel or dimension hopping / quantum realm, nobody really notices because they all arrive back at the same point.
Yeah.
Luckily. So of course, then they play a little game of list switcheroo, where we're gonna send evil Nebula back in the place of good Nebula, which is gonna lead to some great tension between Thanos, 2014 Gamora, and modern day Nebula. And okay, quick side note. I know a lot of people are giving Gamora a little bit of crap for how quickly she transitioned, but you gotta remember,
it was always in her.
It was
she
always in her.
She always wanted to like be good. It's just a matter of like
that's
she was
what-
waiting for the right spot.
Actually, from the beginning of Guardians of the Galaxy, she already wants to betray. That's the thing. Like the moment that they're in prison together in the kiln, she already says, "I wasn't bringing it to Ronan. I was betraying him. I actually had a deal to sell it to a third party." Like already there. So, Gamora already from the very beginning was not behind Thanos and his plans.
Yeah, it's just that she literally gets everything confirmed for her in this, scenario.
Yeah. And if it doesn't, sure, if it feels weird, that's a fair point, but good execution is good execution. So, who cares? So, and then, of course, we cut to second big gut punch, for me anyway, which is Vormir.
Oof.
And
Jeez.
Okay. I knew Nat was going to be the one to die. I knew she was.
Yeah.
But the fact that Clint tried so hard to go in her place. Oh, God. And seriously, just such powerful acting from both Jeremy Renner and Scarlett Johansson. Like I said last week, to me, this is a career-defining performance for her. I loved her in this movie, and this scene is the reason why.
And something to also consider is they were both trying to get to that bottom of the chasm with the intention of getting the stone, but they had entirely different reasons for wanting to be the ones to go down there.
Yeah.
Like, Clint, he basically felt he had nothing to live for, whereas Nat felt like she had something to die for. Because look at the start of Black Widow's arc. She was the character with red in her ledger, and for the longest time she had been trying to remove that. She had been trying to be the hero that she always felt she could be. And she sees this as her moment, giving her friends a fighting chance and giving Clint hope that he can be with his family again. That is where she feels she can best be a hero. Clint, on the other hand, he feels that all hope is gone, and he just wants to end it. And that's why he wants so badly to get to the bottom of that chasm. And so, it's another win for the movie in this weird way that Nat was the one to bite the bullet, because it gave everyone a fighting chance. It gave her friend a chance at hope when he felt there was none left. Yeah. And she gets to go out on her terms as the hero she always wanted to be.
Yeah. I had a really strange theory based on a logic thing, because I got kind of confused in the whole logic of the whole thing is you're supposed to sacrifice someone you love. Technically, neither one of them sacrificed the other one. They kept trying to sacrifice themselves for the other person. So, I mean, even when he lets her go, he hasn't sacrificed her. He just let go. It was kind of his thing. So I had this back theory of she's not dead. She's going to be the one who got the soul stone because she made a sacrifice for someone for love, essentially. And so I had this thing where I thought she was going to wake up with the soul stone and they were going to be separated. He thought she was dead. She comes back and has the soul stone. So that's what I thought was going to happen, because the logic didn't make sense to me. Of the point is you're supposed to, like what Thanos did is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to take something you love, toss it over the side, and that's not what happened between the two of them.
But in fairness to that, the Soul Stone is the one stone we know the least about. And I think the reason why is because what has been teased for Guardians 3, Adam Warlock. What character has more ties to the Soul Stone than anything else? It's Adam Warlock. So
True, but also, hold on a second. I heard a theory where Gamora wound up after she was thrown off the side in Infinity War was that she technically wound up in like this
soul world,
basically.
Yes, as you see at the end of Infinity War.
Yeah. And so Nat winds up there too. Now, the theory's been going around that the Black Widow movie potentially could be those two getting out.
Interesting.
That would be weird, but yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Then what's the point of hiring David Arbor?
Ha. Whatever. Anyway, no, and Kees, actually, I don't think I got you on this scene yet.
Oh, I think you guys said it. Like, really powerful scene, powerful acting between all of them, and yeah, it just makes too much sense because like that Natalie yes, of course they're both trying their hardest, but at the end, Natalie's gonna go because what is there for her after like if she were to survive and if Clint were to survive, what would she do? Would she like go take care of Clint's kids with Laura or something? I don't. She would not have a purpose, and like she has been in this universe for so long since Iron Man 2, and has shown like she completed her arc, as Nico said. So there's nothing else left for her, and Hawkeye has his family, and he needs to go back to their family, and so like I knew how the scene would play out. Also, I wasn't like the first time I saw it, I wasn't like tearing up because I didn't believe she'd die. And as you guys are saying, there might yet be something. So yeah, I'm like I don't know if she'll come back or not because it seems that there are hints towards that.
Fair enough. So yeah, so we have that, but as we mentioned, there was a little fuck up with the Space Stone. Loki got it, so he got himself out of there, and that's what's going to be the setup for the Loki TV series, obviously. Which, please, Disney Plus, don't make that suck. I would greatly appreciate it. As we then cut to
1970.
The 1970, or yeah, you're right, 1970 exactly, in Jersey, of all shithole places. And it's true, Jersey is a shithole, but that's all right. Come at me, New Jersey people. I want to hear it. Anyway.
Stan Lee's last cameo.
Stan Lee's last cameo. Let's talk about this.
I swear I thought I heard somewhere that he also shot something for Far From Home, and maybe he did, and they're just not going to use it because they feel like this is an appropriate place to end his story. Yeah. But it's
quite possible, and it's so adorable. I loved it. Every single second, all of the whole 10 seconds of it. But I think it was a perfect way for his character to go out because that's how Stan Lee was. He was a rebel.
Yeah. Yes. You'll see him in other movies though. They'll stick him in something. He'll be on a newspaper or a magazine or a poster or just you will never not see his face in a Marvel movie. That's a guarantee.
Yeah.
Fair enough. As of course, there's Cap and Tony, and as Cap's running around trying to look for more Pym particles, he manages to sneak himself a couple and manages to see somebody from his past, which he mentioned in the rehab scene at the opening of the movie. And
also, I have a question. How does Peggy not see him?
I don't know.
They were 4 inches
there. Yeah.
Well,
someone showed me. I'll let you speak. Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just going to say.
Like I'm interrupting.
I saw a meme of Jim Halpert looking through the blinds in The Office, and they used that as a spoiler that didn't really spoil anything, but it was perfect.
It was good. I honestly thought what you were going to see is he was staring at her. Then you were going to go to the shot from her perspective, and you were going to see it was two-sided, like the one-sided window or whatever, the mirror thing, right? So then she wouldn't be able to see through it, and then that would make sense. But I'm like, they're 4 inches away from each other. You can feel when somebody's staring at you, and if somebody's staring at you and is almost leaning on your face, you're probably there. It is. Oh my Lord. I might be having a panic attack right now. It's pretty great. It's going to happen live. If it's any longer, we're gonna kiss.
Well, I mean, you gotta take me on a date first, but I mean, come on now.
Nope.
That's all right.
Not how I do it.
Oh my. All right. And then of course, as all that's going on, Tony has to go find the Tesseract. And of course he does, he puts it in a briefcase. But who should he bump into but his own father? And this is literally days before his birth.
Yeah.
Which oh my god. Like
I know.
I just feel so bad for Tony because of everything that revolves around his parents throughout this franchise, whether it's his dad's legacy that he tries to upkeep in the first Iron Man, or whether it's the fact of his finding out about his parents' assassination in
Civil
War,
War.
and shit, the opening scene of Civil War where he wishes he could have had his last conversation with his folks go differently. And you're just like, oh, man, this hurts.
Yeah.
That's his closure moment, though. That's where he finally gets the closure he's been looking for his entire life.
And especially when he gives the awkward hug.
Oh, God, that was great.
Thank
Well,
you
especially
for all you've done for this country.
Yeah. I was just thinking like that kind of paired with you see that immediately after you see the weird hug thing in Spider-Man Homecoming when he leans forward. He's like, no, I'm not going for a hug. Just go for the door.
By the way, there's a cameo when they get to the limousine that
who's the actor?
So I don't know the actor's name, but I do know that he played Edwin Jarvis in Agent Carter. And so this is actually special in that we've seen some of the movie characters go into the TV world of things.
But now we're seeing the TV world coming into the movies.
Yeah, this is the first TV character that officially made a movie appearance. So this was
James Darcy. Thank you.
Well, to be fair, it does make sense that like Agent Carter, we already know from the movies, so it makes sense that you have someone like that show up in the movies as well.
Well, that's why I was kind of torn and didn't really know when I saw the John Slattery was Howard Stark. I was kind of surprised, and I was like, I was kind of surprised it's not Dominic Cooper. I know why they went with with John Slattery, and it makes sense
because it's the 70s.
Yeah.
And John Slattery has been in a lot more movies. Dominic Cooper was only in First Avenger.
Yeah.
I thought John Slattery was only in Civil War.
No, also Iron Man 2.
Oh, you're right. I'm dumb.
And Ant-Man.
And Ant-Man.
Cameo in Ant-Man.
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, so that's the face they know, not Dominic Cooper from First Avenger, where he's very young.
Yeah.
Touche. Yes.
I'm just amazed James Darcy as Jarvis, that Jarvis lived that long, because they teased him dying in season 2, and he thankfully lived, but still. Like, the fact that he still looks kind of young 40 years later is a bit interesting. 30 to 40 years later.
25 to 30. Yeah.
Yeah. But still, yeah. They should have aged him up a bit. And that's, again, the kind of the logic of it. Like, you see him and you're like, but wait a minute, it's a much older Howard Stark, but almost the exact same age Peggy Carter and Jarvis.
They aged Peggy up a little.
A little,
but I don't know. They just had to.
It wasn't full X-Men syndrome of just not bothering with aging. But,
and they really de-aged Michael Douglas.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah. Hair. Oh my god.
That hair. It was wonderful. But yeah, so everyone gets everything that they need. They head back, and as they're heading back, we finally get back. They've assembled a glove. They put together. They put the stones in the glove, and as Nebula is about to betray them, curse her sudden but inevitable betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
Hulk puts it on. Great scene. Great discussion of who should put it on, but of course it has to be the Hulk. It couldn't be anybody else, because nobody else in the group could survive that. Foreshadowing. as Hulk snaps his fingers and life already is starting to come back.
Yeah.
There's birds in the sky.
Yeah, and then they get bombed.
And then they just get blown.
Slow down. We get that magnificent phone call that no one answered.
Oh, yeah.
Bart. Yeah, and that's when all hope has returned to Clint and to the rest of the Avengers as well. Like, we did it.
And actually, and a double hold up, because I did forget to briefly mention, just like real fast, I was really happy with the group mourning Nat the way they did.
Yeah.
That was so beautiful.
Yeah, you just need a moment.
You need a moment, and that was all we needed, and that's what we got. But yes, now let's go back to the boom boom third act. Here we go, baby. Best part of the movie. This was what I was waiting for, and
it was relentless.
And that's why I loved it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Thanos comes in, blows up the whole fucking place, and literally, like, Jesus, what was everyone, like 50 feet down underground?
Oh, yeah, so far.
And
War Machine has to take off his suit because it's crushing him. Rocket is under a thing. Hulk is under a thing. Ant-Man has to save him.
And he does. Wonderfully.
And he does.
As while all that's going on, Clint is off by himself, and he's got the gauntlet, and then, of course, he's being chased by some of those freaky dog things from Infinity War.
Yeah, that moment where he shoots the arrow and reminded me of Aliens. The moment that they look through the thing and they see all the aliens and oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so of course he's on the run. He has to get out of there, and of course he does through his little grapples and gadgets and whatnots. And while all that's going on, luckily Tony, Thor, and Cap are up top.
Ooh.
And who else do we see beam down from the ship but Thanos? He's here. He's ready. He's mad, and he is ready to fight.
And he has a Darth Maul blade on steroids.
Damn right.
It's a double vibro blade.
Yes, it reminded me of the double vibro blade they have in KOTOR for the Wookiees.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
But and then something that we skipped over. Thor has Mjolnir again. He has Stormbreaker and Mjolnir. He's double fisting weapons. And that was probably one of my favorite shots in the entire movie when he gets them both and lightning's up. I'm like, like it was just
like lightning apparently has beard braiding powers.
It does.
Yes, and it looks wonderful.
Well, just think about Powder. He had no hair.
True.
No, that's a really old reference, apparently. My age is showing.
You're fine. And of course. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, then you get the fight, and at first they all three try, and then Thanos is just like no. He says no, and they just disappear, and then it goes one by one, and they all get beaten down, and then you get a wait. What?
I just read something in the chat. You'll see.
Oh,
You'll see.
All right,
see.
whatever. But anyway, God, I can't ignore this. I need to see this. What the hell is happening?
Malcolm, I love you.
So
one of our fans, Malcolm, typed in the chat, double fisting weapons, yet another Pornhub search. You are welcome, audio listeners. Look that up.
Okay. Anyway, you get a moment like Saving Private Ryan, where Thanos is just putting the axe in Thor, and it's just slowly going. And my absolute favorite moment in the entire MCU happens. I never expected this to happen, and I just completely freaked out the first time I saw it, where Mjolnir rises, and you're like, wait, what is happening? How can Thor do this? And it's not Thor. And it comes to Cap, and he's like, and I'm like, oh, come on! This is the best fucking thing ever! I didn't expect this to happen, but it was so cool. Oh my God.
The crowd in my theater went nuts when that happened. Like, we had a really lively crowd, and like the crowd was standing when that happened.
Same here. Like there was a bunch of applause when that happened. Me, I didn't let out a single sound. I was just like,
No, I definitely gave a nice little woo when I saw that go down, and yeah. So now Cap can wield Mjolnir.
Yes.
Cap is worthy.
I had
and they
two
teased
guesses.
this. They teased this many years ago, and it was just a matter of
in
he
Age of
wasn't worthy
Ultron.
then. He wasn't worthy then, but he apparently is worthy now. And you can't pick a better time to officially be worthy of wielding that hammer.
Yes.
Yeah, see, and I was gonna say my brain was going everywhere with it. Like literally, as it's moving, you have a few seconds, and I'm like starting to go through. Like, could it be Valkyrie being like maybe a potential replacement for Thor? And then I was like, what about Loki? He's theoretically out there. Space Stone maybe figures his way back. Maybe now Loki's got the hammer, and the brothers each have a weapon. And then it was Cap, and I was like, whoa, Cap, yeah, woo!
So yeah, now Cap goes after Thanos and quite handedly gets his ass kicked. Like even parts of the shield get beaten up, and he's just getting battered, and that hurt me to watch a little bit, but for the right reasons. Because at this point, I just want this fucker to die.
Yeah.
However Thanos has to go down, just fucking make it happen. But I noticed that it's getting worse, and he's going on this monologue about how, now that I know what you have done here.
No, it was never personal.
Oh, sorry,
but,
it was never personal.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna really enjoy this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, then we start to see the army start to assemble. All these creatures are coming down, and you see the soldiers walking up. We see Ebony Maw and all the stupid children of Thanos, whatever. They're coming forward, and I'm just like, oh fuck, this ain't gonna end well. But then, all of a sudden, I start hearing some radio static, and it's fucking Sam, because he says, "On your left." Bam! Out come T'Challa, Shuri, and Okoye.
Okay.
And then out come literally like
Everyone.
everybody.
Even Howard the Duck.
Even Howard the fucking Duck. No shit here on this one.
Yeah.
Like literally, you see the Ravagers, you see all the Doctor Strange sorcerers, whatever. You see all literally every good person in this movie, every bad person in this movie.
Yeah.
And we're about to have the fucking battle of the millennium.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Did anybody else have the weird feeling that the movie was going to end as they were running at each other?
I had a weird feeling for a hot second, but no.
Yeah, I was sitting there and I'm like, I wasn't really aware of the time. And they
That's
were
fair.
running at each other. And I was like, I just had this feeling it was just going to cut to black a la Sopranos and just be like, just go ahead and assume what happened.
Oh, no.
And I was literally getting ready to like get up and march out. Like my brain was that committed to that this was going to happen. And I was getting mad. And then they made contact. I'm like, oh, thank God.
But
that didn't cross my mind silly because we still have Spider-Man Far From Home coming up in a few months, and that movie's supposed to take place like right after the events of Endgame. So
But they could have showed the home video like they did for
maybe they could have. But so right as we're about to have the big charge, oh my God, my favorite moment in this movie, my favorite moment in the MCU.
It's finally said.
It's finally fucking said. And of course, it's Cap, as everybody is there. He pulls Mjolnir to him. Avengers! For Frodo. And granted,
That's the for Frodo moment. Yeah.
Exactly.
It absolutely was.
and that's when as soon as he says, assemble. That's when I just lost my mind. I'm just like, yes! Yes! Like, I freaked the fuck out. And I didn't care. Both times I've seen it, I freaked the fuck out. No shit's given. I'm watching the charge. Out comes Ant-Man. He's carrying everybody who is still in the complex. Out comes Clint. Out comes... And it's a massive charge. And just both sides coming together. Boom! Big battle starting. People are dying left and right. And it's just fucking epic.
Everything you wanted.
Everything I wanted.
Yeah. and like a long battle. I mean, not thinking about Game of Thrones long battle, but like it was for a movie.
That was annoying long.
Yeah, but for a movie to have like what was about 35 minutes straight, pretty much,
roughly.
Yeah.
And as the battle is going, so Clint's running around with the gauntlet. What does he do with it? Well,
he literally asked, "What do I do with this?"
There's an idea that's come up. Even though the quantum tunnel was destroyed, the backup is still around. So
Dukes Hazard me.
we're gonna Dukes of Hazzard this motherfucker, and we're start up the van as Ant-Man and Wasp head over to the van to try to get it started up that way. And
by the way, the look of joy on Evangeline Lilly's face when she got to say, "We're on it, Cap," because she was complaining in Ant-Man and the Wasp, but she didn't get to be a part of the team, and now she's like, "Yay, I'm part of the club. I get to do this."
She was just a jealous fangirl.
Pretty much, and I'm okay with that because
I'm fine.
She was really awesome in this movie. And so the battle's going on, and then Clint gives it to Black Panther, who gives it to Spider-Man. And then as all that shit's going down.
Oh, I absolutely love the moment where he's just like, activate instant kill. That
was
bananas.
Awesome.
That was insane, and I loved it. But as the fight's continuing, it's going on, it's going huge. We have a great moment where Tony meets up with Doctor Strange, and he says, "This is it, right? This is the one.
I told you.
If I told you, it won't happen." And you're just like, "Oh fuck, this doesn't mean what I think it means, does it?" And we'll get there in a moment. Because we have more awesome battle going on, and as Spider-Man just keeps getting more and more overwhelmed.
Wait, Scarlet Witch.
Ooh, touche. Yeah.
Yeah. At that point, Scarlet Witch, Thanos goes after someone. I'm not entirely sure who, but then Scarlet Witch steps in and she's like, "You took everything from me." And Thanos very honestly says, "I don't even know you," which makes perfect sense because they haven't met yet, but she knows him, and she starts to just peel away the armor, and you're like, "Wait, is she gonna kill Thanos?" But no, he has a ace in the hole with the ship.
Yeah.
Which,
but it was
now,
good though because she. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, I cut you off. Real quick. Would that have been the worst way for him to go? Just curious.
It would have been very painful.
I wanted to see. In a sick, twisted way, I wanted to see her rip him apart.
Yeah.
Piece by piece. Yeah. Imagine. We've never seen a Jedi use the Force to pull a Wookiee and rip someone's arms off, but I would have been very happy to have seen Scarlet Witch, to see Wanda get to do that to the person who basically murdered her boyfriend.
Yeah. Her real doll. He was a real doll for all intents and purposes. But
I'm a real boy.
Yeah. I think
there it is.
How he goes.
I know things on me.
Yeah.
Hey, that's what Ultron said.
I know, but he's part Ultron. But how he goes is the only way he can go, really, though, because the thing is, and I had this conversation with my buddy, who he picks favorites, and he has it in his brain how it's supposed to go, and he doesn't like it if it doesn't go that way. So, I mean, everybody had a person in mind that they wanted to be give the kill shot. So anybody having given the kill shot would have upset so many other people, I think, that it was like the way they did it is the only way they could.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And speaking of, let's start to get there. Let's start to get there as the battle keeps going on, and again, it's just even more awesomeness happening. So Spider-Man is surrounded by creatures. They just keep piling on top of him, but then Cap throws Mjolnir, and Spidey grabs it and flies over to hang out for a little bit with, and he gets sort of flown around with Valkyrie and Captain Marvel.
Right.
And then, so now there's just one last shot to get it straight to the van. So he's like, you know what? Here, my spider legs are dead. Take it. So he gives it to Captain Marvel. But he has to ask, as a group of soldiers are charging, How are you going to get there? All of a sudden, bam, all the ladies show up and they get their chance to just kick some ass, which, you know what?
A-Force, yes. I was a reader of that comic, so I was very happy to see that.
Case?
Well, yeah. This is kind of my... I would have had an issue with this if it wasn't as awesome as it was, because it really was fucking awesome. But yeah, it is really stand out. Oh, it's all the female characters.
But
yeah, I get it. It was really awesome, and I loved it. But yeah, it does stand out that it's all the female characters. It's quite on the nose.
That's also foreshadowing for what's to come in Phase 4. Like, there has to be an A-Force movie on the horizon. They definitely have that in development. And that had all the feels for me.
That wouldn't surprise me. I had the same thought at the very beginning. I was kind of like, because they did this moment to great effect in Infinity War with fewer people. And then to do it just bigger, I was kind of like, it was kind of like there's a few moments in Captain Marvel that kind of really hit you over the head where like, in case you didn't know we were going for girl power, now I'm like, girl power. And so this was kind of that moment. And I was like, but then the scene was so wicked that I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to shut my mouth then. And
yeah, no, like, and that's the thing. Like, if you're gonna do that moment of girl power, at least fucking deliver on the execution. And my God, did they. I love this moment as Captain Marvel is now just barely towards the van at all speeds, and Thanos actually manages to stop her by throwing his sword
barely,
true.
But he does.
Unfortunately. And with that, he manages to get the gauntlet after fighting off Tony for a little bit. But as soon as he gets it on, who is there trying to stop him? Captain Marvel. She's just wailing on him, and she's trying to grab the gauntlet. But what does he do? He takes the Power Stone out, knocks her fucking, 200 miles or something, and then puts it back on. But not in time enough to stop Tony from stealing the stones off the gauntlet, putting them smart on his own, and that was so brilliant. And you guys are right.
Oh, and especially because you have that little moment where Tony looks at Doctor Strange and he's like, "It's the one.
This is the one."
Do not forget the monologues from both Thanos and Tony in that final moment.
And I am inevitable.
Exactly. Where as he's about to snap, Thanos just knocks Tony off. I am inevitable. Huh?
Nothing.
And then we look over to Tony, who's got them, who's charging up, but he's just like, I am Iron Man. Boom. Down go all the army. Down goes all the bad guys. They're all dusted as Thanos just looks around in sadness. And he seats himself as he himself turns to dust. Now, this is the point in the movie where both times I've seen it, I am crying like a little fucking bitch. Because when you first see Tony, you only see him from the left half of his face, and he looks fine, he looks normal, until you see the right side of him, and he is fried. Mm-hmm. Like, a small part of me was just like, okay, dude, you gotta gather. Tell Fry to get you to the nearest hospital. There's no time. You have to gather right now. And that's when I just have to come to accept the fact that he's done. Yeah. He's toast. And, of course, first we see Rhodey, who's got tears in his eyes. And then Peter walks over, and you're just like, no, God.
Oh, he crushed that scene.
Yeah. And it's just like in Infinity War, it's just role reversal.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And then over comes Pepper, who you're just like, but you guys were having a life. You had something together. You have a child. Come on, writers, don't do this. Don't kill off. Don't kill him off. And then you see the arc reactor shut off for the last time.
And notice something in the way they wrote Pepper for this, because like she's a mom in real life, and now she gets to be a mom on screen for this particular movie, and as a mother would, she sees the love of her life on his last legs, and she's just like, "It's okay, we're gonna be okay. You can finally rest now," because he wasn't resting before that. He was constantly fighting. That's why he built more suits after Iron Man 3, because he just could not rest until the threat was over. And now he's finally at rest, and then the moment that light in his arc reactor goes out, that's when she lets loose. That's when she starts bawling her eyes out the same way everyone in the theater is bawling their eyes out.
Yeah.
It's well done.
By the way, I really love the poetry of that. Both Iron Man and Iron Man 3 end with Tony saying, "I am Iron Man." And at the end of the fight of Iron Man, where he defeated Obadiah Stane, his arc reactor initially is out, and then it comes to life. And now it is on, and it goes out. It's very nice in that way.
It was, and just the idea, a way that it ends with who it began with.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful bookend to the thing. It's what I suspected was going to happen, not how I suspected it was going to happen. I expected there would be some large sacrifice, but obviously I had no real realm of guesses. I was just like, yeah, I don't think he's going to make it through this. Then somebody yells it at me in a parking lot, and I'm like, I feel like he's probably telling the truth.
Yeah,
absolutely. And of course, from there we cut to we cut to everybody going home and being with people that they love, as we hear Tony give a voiceover of a recorded message they left before everybody went on the time traveling mission to begin with. And again, I'm still crying at this point.
Yeah,
because I'm just mourning the fact that my favorite character in this franchise is now dead.
Same.
And as I'm listening to this and as I'm watching this scene, I realize that everybody's wearing all black. It's like, oh, so they're playing this right before his funeral, and what a perfect way to send him off as sort of like a Viking funeral moment, where it starts off with Morgan and Pepper, and it's one shot, and I love this tracking shot where it starts with Morgan and Pepper, and then it goes to Peter.
Don't forget the arc reactor proof that Tony Stark has a heart.
Oh, that hit me hard.
That hurt.
If I was in a puddle already,
yeah, same. Absolutely. You know what? Brian Nussbaum is here in the chat. And yes, please, Robert Downey Jr. for Best Actor at the Oscars next year. I don't care if he doesn't win, but just please, nomination.
Got their nomination.
Yeah. Is that too much to ask? Please, Academy. Just please, you crusty old white fucks. Thank you.
Yeah. Did we all notice the weird standout in the funeral in that tracking shot?
Harley Keener, Potato Gun Kid.
You got it.
Okay, the thing was, when I first saw it, I was like, who's that kid? I have no idea. And then I looked it up in the cast list, and apparently it was actually Ty Simpkins reprising his role. And I was like, he changed.
You
don't recognize him.
Yeah, he grew up a ton. And it was the same thing. Actually, from afar, I thought it was Quicksilver. Oh. And I was like, whoa, because he was standing right behind Scarlet Witch. So I was like, whoa. And then as it got closer and my eyes could focus on him, I'm like, oh, that's not him. and then I was like, and it kind of looks more like X-Men Quicksilver anyways. So.
I suppose you did not see that coming.
Yes.
I knew that was Harley. I knew that was Harley Keener from the very beginning, and I was like, "Do I know something these other people don't know?"
Yeah, it was cool, and I noticed it, and then finally I kind of recognized who I was, and I'm like, "That's what Marvel does that nobody else does. They take something that had it not been there, nobody would have missed it. Nobody would have thought about it. But the fact that they put it in there is so meaningful, and they are those details. It's kind of like they are the Disney World of making movies, is every single detail is the experience, and they will not skimp on the details.
Exactly. And it was in those little details that, again, as we continue that tracking shot, again, we see literally all the main characters of the MCU.
It's everyone who Tony has impacted throughout the years.
And
that's why they're there.
And it was just so powerful. Because
you realize it's the end of an era.
It is. And hell, I even love seeing Nick Fury just for those 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And if that funeral scene if that scene of them, that one continuous shot of them all at once just mourning him wasn't enough to get you to realize that it was the end of an era, they hit you over the feels even harder when they have Morgan sitting on Happy's lap.
Cheeseburgers.
Your dad loved cheeseburgers. You just
tell
me what you want.
There were two things that he wanted when he came back from Afghanistan. There was an American cheeseburger and a press conference. Yeah.
I don't believe that we forgot to mention this, but when we were talking about the start of the movie, I don't think we mentioned the "I love you 3000" line. We started that, and then when they're reading, when they're doing the last will and testament via hologram, they throw it back to us with the "I love you 3000" line.
That killed me.
Yeah. It was so good, and again, it's I took that daddy role for a second because everybody has that little thing they have with their kid, and it's just like, and to know that that's the last time that's ever going to be shared and like that sort of thing, and I was just, I was sunk so low and just like, I'm not crying, you're crying.
Yeah.
It was something.
Absolutely. And as we're wrapping up,
they set up Guardians 3 with Thor.
They set up Guardians 3 with Thor, with the whole little, who's in charge here? I'm in charge here, okay?
Of course you are.
Hey, I'm the whiny guy who got us all killed the last time around, so I'm in charge. Sorry, I'm still mad, Star-Lord.
I'm in charge now, I'm in charge.
I find it funny that the two leaders of the Guardians of the Galaxy are basically the two guys who let Thanos kill the world. I mean, the half the universe, because one. Peter's the reason why he got the gauntlet back, and Thor is the reason why Thanos was still alive enough to snap. So
didn't go for the head.
Yeah. But and then so we set that up, and now Valkyrie's going to be taking over New Asgard, and you know what? Awesome.
Yeah.
Very happy about that. Then we cut to, oh shit, hold on.
Yeah, I think they cut to Hulk, Hulk
right.
and Steve.
You're right.
Where they send Steve back in time.
And now this is time travel movie breaking its own rules, and it pisses me off, but it works. So I'm just gonna say this right now. I hate how we got here, but I love the final result.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So we. So Hulk is setting up the time travel, the quantum tunnel thing, for Steve to go on a one last trip to go drop off all the Infinity Stones, and he's saying goodbye to Sam, who doesn't really think much of it, but Bucky knows.
Bucky knows,
because of course he does.
Oh, and I also loved when Bucky threw the line back at Steve that Steve said to him in Captain America: The First Avenger, where but in the First Avenger, it's Steve when he's still small, and Bucky is going off with the girls to go on a date, and Steve is like, "You're taking all the stupid with you," and they threw it back. It was really nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, Cap steps on the thing, And as Banner counts down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, he's not there. What happened? But all of a sudden, Sam and Bucky look over towards this bench where this old man is sitting with a bag next to him.
And Bucky's got this biggest grin on his face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bucky knows what happened.
Bucky knows exactly what happened, and
He knows what's happened like Baskin Robbins knows.
Yes.
God, are we gonna start a drinking game for every time we reference that now, or what?
I want some ice cream. I really do.
There
I
we
want
go.
some ice cream.
You know, and as so Sam walks over to the old man, who, of course, it's Steve.
Yeah.
It's a very old Steve, and you know they have one final talk, and as such, you know, as they're wrapping it up, you know, Sam just says, I'm just sad that the world doesn't have Captain America anymore. Where then Steve truly passes the baton to his other best friend.
Yeah.
And
Now it
gives
makes
him-
sense why it's Sam and not Bucky.
I agree.
Because Bucky, at this point, is still, in the eyes of the world, a criminal.
Yes.
And Sam isn't.
Yes.
And also Sam, with with all that he is, he was all in right from the start next to Cap. He's like, I go where you go, just slower. Or I do what you do, just slower. Like it was just like, and like he was always there. And then when he was hunting down Bucky, he's like, I'll come with you. He was always right next to him. And I was like, and I see that. And then you factor in, of course, the Winter Soldier is a murderer aspect of the thing. And it was like he was the obvious choice, especially for the MCU, where they could have went either way because they didn't. They went both ways in the comics.
Yeah.
I just want to point something out. So Bucky is looked at differently in two different countries. In America, he's viewed as the Winter Soldier, this murderer. But in Wakanda, he's viewed as White Wolf, the guy who helped the guy who helped defend their home when Thanos was trying to wreck it. So that's a.
So Bucky's going to go to Wakanda and appear in Black Panther 2?
Please?
Possibly, but we also know
that.
We also know that we're getting the Disney Plus show Falcon and Winter Soldier.
True.
Now, pay attention to that title, and then listen to the words Sam and Steve say to each other at the end of the scene. The title is Falcon and Winter Soldier, but Sam is like, when Cap gives him the shield, Sam is like, it feels like it belongs to someone else. And then Steve says, it does, metaphorically meaning it belongs to you now, Sam. It no longer belongs to me. So the fact that the title is still Falcon and Winter Soldier, now that might also be just misdirection because they don't want to spoil the film, but also it could play into the actual plot of the show itself, in that while Sam has been given the shield to become Captain America, he still might not see himself that way. And so therefore the journey of the first season of this series is going to be him working his way up to becoming who Steve believes he is worthy of being, which is the new Captain America.
Yeah, could do. In my mind, I didn't have no real complaints about the scene in of itself, having old Captain there and stuff. In my mind, though, immediately I rewrote the scene. I rewrote a scene where he wasn't there, where they wait for him, and I kind of use what's it called? Matt Damon, Ben Affleck movie. What's the? I can't.
Good Will Hunting.
Yeah, Good Will Hunting is he wants a world where he looks over and he's not there. He's found his peace and he's found his thing. So I wanted him to not be there. What I wanted to see was something leaning up against the tree over kind of where they went. So do an alternate scene if you must. And there's something up against the tree. Sam goes over and looks. It says Sam. He opens it up. It's the shield. He looks up, and carved in the tree is a heart with like Steve loves Peggy. Then cut to the flashback scene of the two of them dancing. You never have the talk between them because you just know. You understand he's found his peace. You understand the message of the thing. Those things didn't have to be said to me. That being said, I don't fault that scene at all for any of the things they did in it. I just was like, I think it's the screenwriter in me going, I could write this better for just this one moment.
And it's funny you mentioned that, because this movie ended on the note that I honestly didn't think it could. Because, again, that's breaking the rules of the time travel established in the movie, but that's neither here nor there.
Because it makes you cry one last time.
It does make you cry one last time as we close in on a zoom-in shot of Cap with Peggy in the 40s, and they're finally having their one last dance. And, oh my God.
I have to wonder. I have to wonder, because what if this is considered breaking the rules of the time travel they established or not? I keep thinking, so is old Steve, did he ever see like himself on the news fighting with the Avengers, and then he's like, okay, Peggy, this is where the Chitauri come and invade. Let's go into the basement and wait this out. And I also have to wonder, like, we saw Tony and Pepper. They had a daughter. They had a life together. Who's to say that there isn't a young Rogers Carter roaming around somewhere in the world and we just don't know about them yet? Because
he'd still be in his late 40s.
Or she. Or she.
Fair enough.
No, they'd be in their 50s or 60s by this point.
Oh, there you go. Boomers.
Oh.
Damn boomers ruining everything.
Fair point. So, but they didn't mention it, but they did not mention it either. So therefore, I still feel like that's something they could explore as well.
Yeah, and you see the ring. They made a real fair point to show the ring. He's got a wedding ring on, so
yeah. Okay. But that said, because I'm not gonna lie, guys, it's starting to get late. And
there's one more thing that we have to mention, and that's for those of you who stayed through the credits, despite the fact that everything on the internet said there's no end credit scene. What did they finish off with? They finish off with a clang, clang, clang. The sounds of Tony and Jensen building the first suit, setting up this whole universe that we've spent 10 to 11 years living through and enjoying. We've come full circle.
Yeah.
Yes.
In the best possible way. As before we head out of here,
I just wanted to say, when this universe started, as we know, like Irina was on the podcast last week, and she said when it started out, she didn't care about Iron Man, and also didn't really care about Cap, but she got more, she cared more about Cap than Iron Man, and she, her favorite character is Cap. My favorite character was always Iron Man since the beginning, and I never really cared for Cap, up until a certain point, of course. However, in this movie, when Tony died, she cried. Of course, I did as well. And when Steve has the final dance, I cried. Just shows that this universe, despite the fact that really is the Civil War argument, are you Team Cap or Iron Man? It doesn't matter. At the end, you cry for everything because you love both of these characters, because what they've done for this universe. Cap and Iron Man in this universe made everything, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
Hear, hear.
Hear, hear. And with that, what we're going to do is we're going to go around the horn one more time to give our true final thoughts on this movie and just sort of how this movie has so far affected us and just what we think this movie will continue to affect us moving forward in the MCU. Nico, let's start with you.
Again, I've only seen this movie once, but that one time that I've seen it, I have gone on record to say that it was the best movie experience I've ever had, my best movie theater experience I've ever had. And I would honestly say, again, based off this one viewing, I might change my mind upon a second and third, but I feel like it's my favorite movie of all time now. Because I was on that journey for the longest time. I remember I was in this random motel in Kane, PA, watching a bootleg copy of Iron Man and that was when my journey started with this whole thing. And then I fell off a little bit, and then got back on and was on the ride from Iron Man 3 onward for every movie to see in theaters. And I've been on this journey since it began, and this was the perfect culmination. And again, we've heard other people say it's like a unique form of a television show, and we keep getting a new season, a new episode, and this was the series finale, or the season finale, if you will, and it lived up to everything that was built up. I'm getting my words twisted, and that's how good of a movie it is. That's how much I love it, and I wish I was this good of a writer that I could one day work on something like this, because the amount of attention to detail that all the directors of all these movies put in, specifically Anthony and Joe, for paying attention to everything that's come before it, and then tying up those loose ends here in this 3 hours of brilliance. Give them all the awards. Give them all the awards.
Yeah.
And you know what? This might be the first one to do it. Case.
This was really everything I wanted from it. I have a few issues with the movie, but I absolutely love the movie, and I love the ending that they did, because really they gave the perfect ending to the already established characters that we've known and loved for years, but they also give us like the hint of what is to come, because they do set up we know that Doctor Strange is yet to star in movies, Captain Marvel, Black Panther, Guardians Volume 3, all that kind of stuff is still to come, and we'll get that, and they tease at it while still ending the era of Robert Downey Jr. Can this man get a goddamn Oscar nomination, please? Because he's been so good throughout this entire universe. He is Iron Man, and also, of course, Chris Evans as Steve Rogers, a character that I didn't like based off his first movie, but then throughout the universe he's grown on me, and in this movie he's so great. One of my favorite moments ever in movies is in this movie because of him. So that's just awesome. This movie did everything it needed to do. It's really hard to rank them among the MCU movies because it's such a different movie. But yeah, I just love it. I'll watch it a couple more times to really get a grasp on this. And it might actually take me a complete year to fully grasp what this movie is and where it stands for me. But it's great. And if you haven't seen it yet, I don't know why you're watching the show in the first place. But if you've already seen it, go see it again. It deserves the repeat viewings, and I want to go see it again and again because it's so great.
Awesome. Joe.
I mirror a lot of what both of the guys said. The one thing I thought about, like after first viewing and just first impression, I was like, man, they really underutilized a lot of the people who came back after the snap. But I mean, they didn't have a choice, and I understood that. But then it's just like Kees said, these are the people to come. We're saying goodbye to, we're dealing with the originals right now. These people all have futures, and we're going to get more and more of them. So they got their moments and all that stuff. It was exactly the perfect culmination. I 100% agree. It was the best movie experience I ever went to. The crowd was outstanding. The moments, I mean, they just hit you with the moments. And I mean, so many of them could be seen as so cliche if put in the wrong hands, and the Russos make it something that you stand up and cheer for. And I just say, you know what, bless Kevin Feige for his role in, nobody has thought big picture more than this man. It had they had to be thinking a dozen movies ahead at every turn. After a point, once they realized that this thing was going to take off, they every detail was thought about. They brought in people who, under no circumstances, would you think would be making superhero movies. The directors of Community and Arrested Development made the most MCU movies of anybody. Taika Waititi made an amazing movie. Just these people left and right. The guy who did Elf started it all. It's just, and
I don't like that movie, but
but that's exactly like him and his team. It was definitely not a one-man show, but these people saw the right things in the right people. They take chances on people like Robert Downey Jr., who was, just kind of on his upswing. Everybody knew he was talented, and everybody knew he was challenged, and they took that was a huge bet that early in the game, because that could have went a very bad way, and it just went the best way in the history of the world. And it all comes down to him. Whenever I think about these movies and I think about all the moving pieces and stuff like that, it all comes back to him and the people around the making of the movie. As much as I love all the actors and all that stuff, thank you, all the directors. Thank you, all the cinematographers. Thank you, that production team. Thank you, Disney, for not doing, like, every time Disney bought one of these franchises between Star Wars and Marvel and all these different things, they're all like, oh, here comes Mickey Mouse with a Captain America shield. No, but that was great. But it was like they constantly did that, and everybody just eyes on the prize, and God damn, they got it.
Yeah. Now, I'm not going to be saying this to discredit any of the other films in the franchise, but I'm going to just put it this way. Movies like Captain America, The Winter Soldier, Captain America Civil War, Avengers Infinity War, those are great movies. They are great examples of what the superhero genre can do and how they can mesh with other genres to tell a really unique story. Avengers Endgame, to me, is a great film. And forgive me if I'm going to get all film snobby here for about a minute, so if you got a problem with it, piss off. But Endgame does what very few films in this franchise have done to any degree, and that is transcend their genre. To me, this movie does what Return of the King did, what The Empire Strikes Back did, what films like The Wizard of Oz did, or like what Jaws did. Movies that transcended their genres and became just an example of filmmaking and what great storytelling is capable of. And I'll be honest, I'm not going to be shocked if in 20 years from now there will be colleges that teach film courses that have Avengers Endgame be the example of how to end a franchise correctly. And granted, this is not the end of the franchise officially, but it's the end of this era. This is the end of season 1 of a television show that we have been in love with for a long time now. And that's not going to change. And you know what? Kees brought up a great point. It's going to be impossible to rank it properly. Because it's such a different kind of movie.
By the way, I would consider, I really would consider that you include Infinity War with this, because essentially Infinity War and Endgame are one movie. That was the initial idea.
When you combine them together, I agree with you. But it just as individual pieces, slight disagreement. But like I said, when you do combine them, I do agree. So you can think of it as like a Kill Bill, when you combine both volumes.
Yeah.
The Godfather Parts 1 and 2 combined together into one mega film.
Definitely Alice Part 1 and 2.
Hell yeah. Absolutely.
You have to know that there is someone out there with like a Topher Grace mind and creativity that is like going through every single movie and cutting it and reconnecting it in chronological order from when Cap first became a thing all the way to now. Like someone out there wants to see like if they can do that and just put together what would it be? Like 25 like 40
that'd be like
50-hour movie with all the scenes.
Almost a 60-hour thing. And I
Make
want to
it
see
happen.
every second of it. Please make it happen.
Somebody's out there that would happily do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so now to wrap this up, I love this movie. I love this film. This, to me, will go down as one of the great superhero movies of all time. This will go down as one of the great comic book movies of all time. This will go down as one of the great films of this decade.
Potentially the greatest of comic book films.
Only time will tell. And I can't believe I'm saying this, Case, but now your argument for Thanos, you have a little bit more room to make an argument with.
Oh, Thanos is the best villain in comic book history.
And I'll still respectfully disagree with you. But you know what? Yeah, like I said, you've got a lot more wiggle room for an argument there because of how powerful this movie is. In every
he was
capacity.
he was definitely put in the right hands to be made the villain that everybody was clamoring for in the Marvel Universe.
So,
and you have to wonder, what's next?
Exactly.
Galactus? Can we please make Galactus a thing?
Actually, Nerdist had a theory. They think, with the Soul Stone having been removed from Vormir twice, Red Skull might be on the table again. We could get Onslaught. We could get him merging with Professor X's brain at some point down the road. That could happen as well.
That could happen. By the way, something that Irina told me, and it was brilliant. When Captain America was placing back the stones, when he came to Vormir, he recognized Red Skull, didn't he?
Yeah.
That's an awkward conversation.
That's a really awkward conversation. I kind of want to see that now.
Stone back. You have to like pull somebody you love out of the chasm. Oh, that's how you get Black Widow back.
Touché.
Well, I don't know. I was gonna say something. Can he push Red Skull down the chasm? And then he's like, here's something I hate. Take back the stone. It's the opposite of giving you something I love. I'm giving you something.
So here you have the stone and Red Skull.
I mean, if that's how it works, and that's how it works. But that being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in for this week's episode of the Who Cares Anyway podcast. Of course, this went on way longer than I was expecting, but you know what? We had a great conversation, and you know, my OCD has been kicking in for the last hour. But you know what? I had to tell it to shut up because we had a great conversation about a great film.
Yes.
And you know, don't expect every episode to go 3 hours. We're going to try to keep it as close to 2 hours moving forward as we can, except for when we have something like this happening. So, that being said, thank you so much, everybody in the chat, for keeping that conversation alive. And, you know, David B., hashtag bless you right back at you. And you know what? Maybe next time you're on the show, or maybe sometime I'll just call you on Skype, and we'll hash out our disagreements about the time travel rules and whatnot. But
who cares about time travel anyways?
I'm not looking forward to that episode because we know that's going to be a thing. Anyway, to our dear guest, Joe we are always happy to have you back. We love having you on this show. Man, where can the good people find you online?
Well, thank you guys again so much for having me. This was a blast. If you like things that go an hour longer than you expected it to go, you can listen to my podcast, Miscast Commentary. And if you wait about 25 minutes, it's May the 4th, and we are releasing our third Star Wars commentary. We're doing Return of the Jedi. We'll be releasing at midnight on SoundCloud, and then it'll be, fed through the universe by the mornings. So wherever you listen, check it out. And you can find us on Twitter at Miscast Podcast.
All right. Nico, the suave of Rigolis. Where can the good folks find you online, and where can we find embarrassing videos you were in recently?
Facebook, Twitter, YouTube at Nico Suave Regoli. That's NicoSuaveRegoli, or just Nico Suave on Discord. You can find me over at Combat Wrestling Network is the name of the YouTube channel. The Facebook is Combat Wrestling. Hold on. Combat Wrestling Network on YouTube. Combat Wrestling Trivia on Facebook. The poorly made Twitter handle is at Combat Wrestling, the number 2. There is no letter G in there. If you like wrestling trivia, come find us over there and watch Adonis and James doing their talk shows throughout the week. Multiplex Entertainment is the name of the Facebook group, and the YouTube channel. The Twitter is at MultiplexYT. The Instagram is Multiplex Entertainment Network. tpublic.com/user/multiplex Spire Austin shirts. Crisis on Earthplex, you know the deal. And here on Dedicated Art and all the places, Case and Chris will say in a moment. And stay tuned for Rolling Crits on Twitch.
And dealing with our abuse. I'm sorry, Nico. All right. Case, where can the good folks find you online?
Right here on Dedicated to Art, crapping all over Nico's shoes, apparently. Sorry. Okay, maintain professionalism. All right, guys. You can find me, first of all, sleeping, then watching all the rest of Star Wars movies, because it's May the 4th. And in honor of May the 4th, I'm actually, within 24 hours, in 24 hours, I'm facing Chris and Jay Burns in a Star Wars trivia match over on Full Metal Trivia. So check that out. That's going to be fun. I also sometimes compete over at Multiplex, as Nico just mentioned. You can also find me at Dutch Movie Guy on Twitter, Kees Cornelisse on Facebook and Letterboxd, and reviewing Game of Thrones every week. We'll be back, of course, on Monday with episode 4. After a little disappointing episode 3, I hope it can pick up again.
And with that, you guys can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Stardust, Letterboxd, and Discord at Skywalker Dohmen. You guys can follow this very channel on Twitter and Instagram at D2A Channel. Please like our Facebook page. And, stay tuned for our Schmodown reactions, as well as the new show that Ryan McLellan launched on Thursday called Downtune Dissection. If you're a metalhead, please check out this show. It is fucking awesome. Our first episode, we broke down the second album from Linkin Park called Meteora. And, guys, please. There's only one thing that I want you to do this weekend, and that is to be with the ones you love. All 11 of them. They're called Star Wars movies. Give them a watch. Make sure that you love them. Make love to them. Do what you gotta do. But until then, you guys know what you gotta do. Take care!
I love you 3000.
Blu-rays have holes in them.